Yo, what's up, Evil Eddie? What's good, man? This one is for that, so I need to forward this to. I'm just putting out some server announcements. 1 second, guys. How's everybody doing today? How you? How you? How you? Hi, hi, hello, hello. Yo, what up? We're not gonna have a long stream today. I wanted to talk about a couple things, but overall, we're just gonna chill for a bit. We're just gonna yap. Yeah, I definitely need to turn this thing on. If you guys hear an AC in the background, ignore it. I can't do anything about it. It's hot as fuck where I live. I beat everyone in a tug of war match at camp. Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome, Christopher. Love that for you, man. Christopher Strunk, I imagine. So, I had the last few streams. I've had a bit of a crash out. Not bit. I've had crash outs. I guess it is exhausting to talk about the same thing over and over again. Have to explain the same thing over and over again. I'm thinking about just making some. Not partially and not thinking. I've been told by some of my moderators, etc. Moderators and even people in chat that, like, you know, it's probably best to, like, just make some extra folders and stuff, just to be capable of easily finding and developing the arguments for the stuff that we need to find. I might just make it here. I might just make, like, a new folder here and just throw in all the information. Debunk, we'll just call it debunk for now. And then within debunk, we'll make. Oh shit! One man. How you doing, man? Appreciate it. Can we get some W's? Oh, well, you guys already did it. Cool. Thank you. Can we get some W's for the GOAT One Man Comics? And I really do appreciate the $5, dude. I appreciate it. I sort everything arc by arc with ordered numbers for chapters. If you want the SS. What does SS mean again? I'm good. I have all the arcs lined up and everything. I don't have, like, the chapter numbers. I think that would be important. Oh yeah, can you send me a screenshot of the chapter numbers just so I could, like, because that way it just makes it easier for me to, like, type in, like, what chapters are around there. I would actually add that. Yeah. I realized that. Yeah. When I said, can you send me a screenshot, I was like, yeah, that's what that meant. Yeah, I would appreciate it. That way I can just edit the name and then I can just throw in the chapter numbers on the side. East Blue is definitely 1 through 100, right? Yeah, it should be 1 through 100 or like 99, and then everything onward should be like Alabasta should be like 101 onward, right? Hope you guys are good. Hope you guys are chilling. So I wanted to cover a couple of things. Thank you so much, Aura. I wanted to cover a couple of things. Okay, so it's Arlong Syrup Village. Yeah, so everything's that, right? And then Reverse Mountain is 10, to the end of 217. Appreciate it. I'll throw this into the... I'll make something like this later, okay? Sorry for calling you peon. I accidentally typed 2 E's and it all correct. You're fine, bro. I'm not stressing over that. Hey, Unc, we won't allow a troll to harass you. It's not about the harassment. So, I had a conversation with my therapist yesterday. Usually talk on Saturdays, but I caught her up with a lot of the stuff that happened. The whole situation with the mods, personal grievances that I was going through, personal stresses, and then some stuff on the mostly like the stuff that happened in the last few days. We were talking about this concept of happiness and how people, how you have control over your own happiness, right? Every single situation, every single person, every single thing that happens throughout your everyday life, you are the only person that is in control of your own happiness. So engaging with things, starting up certain conversations, or doing whatever the fuck, you have to, as an individual, not wonder why things are the way that they are, or wonder why people react the way that they react. More so, you have to be aware that simply you have to be able to identify and then essentially consider whether or not it is something that's worth engaging, right? So she told me that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what, what grievances or what issues or what debates or all the stuff that we're talking about happens. It doesn't matter who shows up to chat or whether or not live streaming is something that is conducive in a positive way to my health. The simple fact is that if I am not happy, it is because I'm doing something that is making me unhappy, or I am stagnating in a position that keeps me unhappy, right? So on and so forth, and then you just keep throwing it from there, right? But I like live streaming. I like talking to you guys. I like being able to do all that stuff, but it comes with the territory that people are going to disagree, or people are going to say and believe whatever they want, right? Now, my issue has never been with people disagreeing with any of my takes. I told you guys, this is all just an opinion at the end of the day. It doesn't genuinely matter. What's up, nothingness? This is, at the end of the day, this is like one of those things that genuinely does not matter at all. No matter how much anyone here cares about power scaling, this shit does not matter in the slightest bit, right? So with that being said, a part of me kind of felt petty in the sense that, like, I'm not gonna just allow some random fuck-ass troll. Yeah, you can't let the haters win. Exactly. I'm not gonna let some fuck-ass troll sit here and, you know, try to make up different names, try to copy people in chat just to be able to have a discussion or whatever, simply because I'm not going to let them get what they want, or I'm not going to let them, you know, piss me off to the point where I stop streaming, simply because it's not that deep anyway, and B, because it speaks more about a person like that than a person like myself, right? If I get mad at something like this, it's because I'm choosing to engage with it. I have no one else to blame but myself, right? There is no one else I can blame if I'm getting upset. There's no one else I can blame besides my... Insert take that Naruto solos all of One Piece and ignore evidence against that argument of Rage Bait on here. Yeah. There is no one I can blame other than myself if I'm allowing a conversation to move on, and there's no one I can blame other than myself if I'm talking to someone who is automatically being disingenuous, isn't going to change their mind, isn't going to be willing to have a conversation. They're just going to do whatever the fuck they say to move on, right? I don't care for that kind of stuff. I don't believe in letting somebody like that win, but also I think that people like that in general are extremely sad, because the fact that you went out of your way like two or three times to make somebody else's profile, etc., too much not Sukuna like. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, right? I can't excuse the fact that I crash out, because ultimately I'm the one that's in control of my behavior, right? But it's also the fact that I feel like it's a very sad thing, and this just comes to like trolls in general. Sounds like I got a mod harder. You're fine. You're doing a fantastic job right now, Memento. There's no need to do it harder. You know what I mean? But I do find people like that, people that are willing to go to that much effort just to... People that go through that much effort just to, like, you know, try to, like, troll or try to, like, you know, be disingenuous or whatever. If anything, I feel sad for people like that, because there is a part of you that legitimately gets off on upsetting other people or affecting other people in a negative way, and you put in all that effort for what? Like, what does it really get you, right? You get the guy, you said you wanted to smoke last time. Yeah, but the smoke means having a conversation, getting arguments, and not people being disingenuous, right? That's the difference, right? The smoke is it. When I say I want the smoke, I want to hear people's arguments, and I want to be able to have a discussion. I'm not trying to hear some bullshit about, oh, well, the thing isn't the thing that the story's saying, so that's probably why so many people, yeah. Did I miss the baseless glaze? What's baseless glaze? Anyway, so with that being said, I want to give you guys a bit of an update. I did work on the stream yesterday. How does someone have that much free time in one day to make alt and impersonate random people and argue and lose a little longer? Yeah, like, if you can't make a good argument, you're gonna try to copy a person's name, try to copy all the numbers, trying to copy a profile picture. I think that's weird. Like, ultimately, I do think that's weird, and I don't know if I'm gonna quit power scaling in the end. Part of me feels like it's just not worth the stress at the end of the day to have so many people ignore. And it's one of those cases where it's like, I'm gonna make a very crazy comparison here, but it's like being a scientist, right? It's like being a scientist, right? And I'm not comparing myself to an actual scientist, but it's like being a scientist and having the basic understanding, evidence, etc., to say that the world is round, and for someone to basically sit there and say, no matter how many images, no matter how much of a horizon, no matter if you take me to outer space and I see the Earth is round, will I sit here and believe that it's flat, right? There's a term that she brought up. I'm not a religious man in the slightest bit, but she said, there's a verse in the Bible that goes something along the lines of like, don't share your pearls with swine. don't share your pearls with swine. Now, what that exactly means, I don't know, but I interpreted it as such as like, if pearls is knowledge, if pearls is value, if the pearls are supposed to be whatever thing or thought or whatever thing, thought, action, etc. If it has value to it, if it is something that you can share that has value or offers value to others, there's no reason to share it with swine, because swine cannot truly comprehend the value of a pearl, right? Or their cortisol too high, or they just have nothing going on in their lives. But to be honest, just ignore them. No, yeah. Like, I definitely realize that something I personally need to work on is being able to identify whether or not... Wait, anyone seen the SBS? Rox is 14 feet tall and was 43 when he died. 14 feet is crazy. But yeah, it's this idea that, like, I have to just be able to pick up upon and then tell when a person is just being disingenuous. And a part of me believes and wants to believe that humanity has the capacity to grow, to learn, that it's something that people are capable of, but I often forget that it's something that a lot of people aren't capable of as well, right? Some people, whether it's through immaturity, through age, through whatever the fuck, or through simple, I guess you could say, just personal discomfort, they don't want to simply have a conversation about something that could be true because it removes the reality that they believe in, right? It's like how all these people seem to believe that because the internet decided back in 2016 or 2018 or 2020 that the Naruto verse was stronger, therefore the Naruto verse must be stronger regardless of any actual evidence, right? Fabricated his backstory forward, it's time to hang it up. Yeah, I agree with that, right? Like, the moment somebody tells me that Foxy's beams that are stated to be beams, that are stated to be light, that in Sabaody Archipelago beams are stated to be rays of light rays or rays of light, etc., etc. Like, the moment somebody says it's not because it's not, or that we have to be, skeptical, and this is not to say anything specific, it's just, I looked up a term yesterday, not even yesterday, skepticism fallacy. It's not against... this kind of goes back into the conversation I had with John, but it's not specifically because of them, but it's because I was wondering, like, when does skepticism ever reach a specific point where... Does skepticism ever reach a point where, like, where you can say that if a person, no matter the amount of evidence presented, refuses to believe something, then it essentially falls down into the form of a logical fallacy? I ended up doing like a quick search, a Google AI overview, so I'm not going to say like it was a lot of work putting into it. Literally says anything the light touches is slowed, right? It is a critical thinking method that demands evidence before accepting anything. However, people often fall into the logical traps related to skepticism, most notably pseudo-skepticism, defending a preconceived belief under the guise of being skeptical, or an argument from ignorance, right? So it's essentially like, no matter the amount of evidence that you present, they will still be skeptical regardless of what evidence is. Does that not become an incredulity fallacy? Incredulity fallacy is a little bit different, because incredulity fallacy essentially revolves around the idea of you simply will not believe it because it does not make sense to you, or you refuse to believe it, right? It's like, too many fallacies. My favorite is appeal to evidence. True. Yeah, that's the point. That point is called a personal incredulity fallacy. They'll just keep saying, but that's stupid, over and over again. Correct. That's a little different than pseudo-skepticism or an argument from ignorance, because an argument from ignorance essentially comes from the idea that, like, okay, so... Yeah, it's like, okay, so you presented that the Earth is round. You have images from outside of the planet that the Earth is round. You took me outside of the planet. You took me, like, to space, and I saw that the world was round, and it's like, but I still don't know. I still don't think that it has a basis. I still don't believe that it has a basis for what I'm saying, right? Like, it still has a basis to prove what you are saying, right? Like, it's okay to be skeptical about something. I'm not saying that you can't be. I'm just saying that if the skepticism isn't based on any objective evidence, and it's simply on, it just doesn't hit my prerequisites or whatever, then at some point, it is to an extent it does fall under at least an argument from ignorance, right? If you do quit power scaling, what would that entail? Obviously, videos like Naruto are off the table. Same with videos like Kabuto vs. Man. What ideas would you pursue? I didn't want to. I did say I wanted to get. I did say I wanted to quit power scaling, but a part of me doesn't even care about the power. The power scaling aspect is fine, right? Because again, it's not about being right. I don't care about being right, right? I'm perfectly fine with admitting if I'm wrong in something. I'm perfectly fine with someone else disagreeing with me. The problem that I have is more so versus battles in particular, and I guess as, I cooled off in the evening, I reached the conclusion that it's not so much versus battles that I dislike. I'm sorry, not power scaling that I dislike, it's versus battles. Because versus battles inherently create a bit of a thought process with people. I'll just call them right now swine, right? Like the term before, don't share your pearls with swine. Swine cannot comprehend what the context of the battle is, right? If you try to share your pearls, swine won't be able to truly understand or appreciate what it is, right? So, the problem with versus battles essentially boils down to my character versus your character, right? But this isn't really what the context is, right? It's more so. Character A versus character B. But now, everyone has a certain preference for a character, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that in some way, shape, or form, unless you're talking about characters that you have absolutely no affection, no care, nothing towards, you're just talking about them for the sake of talking about them. There's this idea that for many people, character A versus character B then turns into my character versus your character, which then turns into my story versus your story, which then turns into because my character lost, you must think that story is better. This is usually like the trickle down, let's call it like a trickle down economics of sorts, right? It's like, this is, in my opinion, what the mentality of many of these people essentially devolves into, right? High-key is infested with rats. Every community is infested with rats. Let's not try to just say one specific thing. Every single community out there is infested with rats. Then maybe after the Naruto, we go in a direction of scaling anything you want in a vacuum. Exactly. That's what I was thinking of. So I talked with my girlfriend about this. I talked with my therapist about this. It was more so the concept of like, I like power scaling. I like being able to at least call out how powerful characters or series could be within the context of their own verses. I think it's very interesting, and I think that after a certain point, my character wins, and my character belongs to my series, so my series is better. Correct. Because my character lost, you must think that story is better. Correct, right? That is essentially the logic that I see for a lot of these people, right? So what do they do, right? So what happens there, right? It eventually then becomes an argument of, can we agree that my story is still cool or awesome, right? It then becomes, well, my story is, and then you insert, what's the word I would use here? Insert, arbitrary, my bad. Arbitrary, what would be the word here? Arbitrary, I'll just say topic for now. Arbitrary topic that has nothing to do with the conversation, so on and so forth, right? Like, it devolves into these, again, type of conversations, right? And ultimately, this is the point that these, after, like, let's say, this point up, from this point down, it no longer fucking matters. Like, everything from this point downward genuinely does not matter, right? I feel like your Kaido versus the 5 Kage or Big Mom versus our perfect middle ground. Luffy versus Naruto seem to delve too deep into the DB mindset, but that's my opinion. Well, what do you mean by the death battle mindset, right? Like, why are they talking about sales numbers, right? They're talking about arbitrary metrics or arbitrary topics or arbitrary effects that it had on society, right? Band for band with their favorites is outscaled in a debate. Yeah, they will go out of any length possible to essentially say that in some way, shape, or form their series wins because, well, it must feel good, right? But I like One Piece, so it doesn't matter. I mean, that's fine. You can like them both. It's not about liking both, liking one, liking 20 people, or liking like 50 fucking series. It's never been about that, right? Like, that doesn't necessarily matter. It's about being able to have a conversation and being able to say, okay, well, this is my opinion, this is your opinion, right? Now, what power scaling, in my opinion, or at least versus battles should be like is character A versus character B, right? Let's say, character A versus character B, right? My opinion versus your opinion. This is your opinion. You versus your opinion. Present evidence. Present evidence. Cross-examine. Tackle arguments. Reach conclusion. That should be, like, at least in a very rudimentary way, that should be the basis for which a versus battle should go, right? To present different arguments, to cross-examine evidence, to offer different kinds of interpretations or arguments, etc. He's describing what a debate is, right? This is what it should low-key be, but it doesn't obviously work. I low-key need Shizune to spit on me, but luckily Eon won't read this because he's locked in on his rant. It's not a rant. I'm just trying to explain, like, this is what a versus battle, or at least a conversation between two people should be, and what it shouldn't be. This is like an okay, right? This is like a check mark, right? So, let me just make it green real quick. So this right here is like what versus battles should be like, right? If you can't agree, it's okay. If somebody wins the debate or you can't agree, wins or you can't agree, then accept the L, accept the loss, and either improve the argument, find more evidence, or what would the alternative be? Or simply just don't debate again. I don't want to say don't debate again because that's not what it would. If someone wins or doesn't agree, then accept the loss and simply improve the argument / find better evidence. It really just is that simple, right? That's really it, right? Good to see you, Eon. I almost thought you threw in the towel. I'm not going to throw in the towel because of some fuck-ass trolls. It's okay. This is kind of what I'm saying, right? Like, this right here should be like the way that things go, but obviously they don't go that way. You guys don't need me to repeat that stuff, so let me just kind of push on. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has higher speed scaling than Naruto. I could probably believe that. The DB mindset is when a debate is proposed and no matter the argument is always defaults into the same action figure arguments that almost feel like slamming toys with then a genuine debate. Yeah. It does feel like that. I will agree. Now, I did start to focus on I did start to focus on the script again. I wrote down about this many pages since Tuesday. Okay. Anyway, I covered a lot of things. There's actually a lot of things that happened throughout this arc that genuinely fucking surprised me. There are a lot of things that happen throughout, like, the Syrup Village arc that genuinely surprised me again, looking back into it. Even with my notes, there were, like, a couple of things that I just had genuinely missed, and it wasn't even, like, funny, right? Let me show you guys something real quick that you guys might not have known, right? Let me just show you guys something real quick. So, you guys see Django, right? You guys know Django. Django is the weird guy right here, the hypnotist that ate a mushroom that lets him hypnotize people. He ends up joining the Marines. Spoiler alert. Oh god. Oh jeez. Oh god. How could you dare you spoil that for me, Eon? That would have been like 50 chapters in or something. Anyway. So Django right here says, everybody look at this ring. So you're pretty early. What's up? Is your mood better? Yeah, definitely better. I just have to be able to identify whether or not somebody is either is willing to have a genuine conversation, or whether or not they're not going to, or whether or not they're going to, you know. I just started One Piece on, you fucking scoundrel. My bad, Aura, my bad. But you know, to be fair, it is 2026 and One Piece came out in 1990... What? It came out in what, like 1999? Like, it's your fault at this point, buddy. It's your fault. That you got 27 years to catch up, buddy. Get good, buddy. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I don't know. Anyway, so Django says right here, when I say 1, 2, Django, you'll all become superhumanly strong. All your wounds will heal instantly, and you'll keep getting stronger and stronger. Right? I've not existed for 27 years. See, that's your fault. That's your fault. You should have came out the womb sooner, bro. You should have came out your dad's balls quicker. I don't know what to tell you there, buddy. You should have broken through the condom first, man. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, dude. Anyway, what are these guys doing? Hypnotism. He's really trying to make them believe that they're getting stronger, but that's ridiculous, right? And I would say the same thing, right? I would say the same thing. Your video, Big Mom vs. Leaf, where Big Mom takes the place of pain, is my favorite of your videos. I hope for more like that. But I'd prefer you make content that doesn't stress you. I can definitely make another video like that, but the problem is that I don't know how people are going to react if I were to make something like, I don't know, Madara versus Madara, instead of Whitebeard, Madara versus Marineford. Like, I tried, but it took the wrong turn. It was a reset. Fuck, dude. You have to reset it like a speed run? I get it. You know what? I've seen a lot of speedrunning videos. Sometimes you gotta reset that shit like 1,000 times, bro. It's unfortunate, but I know what you mean, dude. What's up, Aster? So, if you had any level of skepticism, or you thought that Django looked like an absolute fucking idiot, I wouldn't blame you. Yeah, even Nami here is saying there's no way he can make them believe that they're getting stronger, right? But look at these guys real quick. Look at their faces. As a good rule of thumb, if you are at 5 to 10 messages going around the same circle, then just keep, it's a waste of your time. Yeah. I'm gonna do my best to identify it, and if anything, you guys, just call me out and just let me know, like, at me real quick and be like, just stop, dude. I'd appreciate that. So, you see how these guys are all fucked up? They're all bloodied up. They're all messed up. Well, now they got super energized, and now they're no longer bleeding, right? Now you could say, well, they just seem fine now. It's a placebo effect. He didn't actually make them heal. He didn't actually make them heal instantly. Again, he didn't actually make them heal instantly, but look at them. Bleeding from the nose, bleeding from the mouth, etc. He didn't actually make them heal instantly, but oh, look at this. I didn't notice this when I first read through these. Or like the 5th time I read through these. No way they were exhausted a moment ago, and then, boom, he hits it. This is some Tsunade type shit. And you can't convince me otherwise. They literally brought down a fucking side of a hill by just slamming, literally, he broke the cliff. Sorry, not a hill, a cliff, my bad, misspoke. That's kind of crazy in my personal opinion. But since they look goofy, they invalidate this. Correct. Ain't no way your account actually got hacked, dog. It didn't get hacked. Somebody just went out of their way to do it. And then what does Nami say? Incredible, his hypnosis really worked. So his hypnosis, the fact that she's saying it really worked, means that, yes, their wounds were instantly healed. They did become superhumanly strong. Can mess with your memories as well. Is that true? That's insane. If you can mess with your memories, that's gotta be crazy. But yeah, Django is kind of crazy. I threw that into the context of the script. You guys, some Fang over Fang type stuff. I disagree. I would say that that's honestly on some Tsunade type shit. Give me 1 second. I want to get some water. I'm not gonna stream for too long. It's 12:14 where I live. I will be streaming until about 2 to maybe 3 p.m. There we go. There we go, there we go, there we go. Captain Morgan thought he beat Kuro. Yeah, Captain Morgan did believe that. Okay. Mr. Three's assistant, Miss Golden Week. Miss Golden Week. Yeah, remember Kuro plot was to have Django hypnosis Kaya to write over her stuff and replace her memory. Also, that he got yeah. So he got into the Marines. Yeah. That's actually right. Yeah. Okay. So as far as the scaling goes, I didn't really add those portions. I don't, or at least I don't feel like I really need to add those portions. Just specifically because it doesn't really help provide any more evidence. Well, it does. It provides more evidence that he, to what extent he's able to use it at, but I don't think it's necessary considering the very tangible effects that his ability has, right? Now, Luffy takes all these guys out, beats them all down, and then grabs the fucking stem post of a ship and just rips it right off, right? Yeah. As for the Meow Band brothers, I just learned their name yesterday, you could say. I think it's kind of insane, personally. I think that it is genuinely kind of insane that, A, Kuro is capable of moving so fast that even to a stronger individual, he is capable of perception blitzing them, right? And obviously Luffy from that distance is capable of tagging him, but I wouldn't really count that as a speed feat for Luffy since, you know, they didn't really... It's not like Kuro saw it coming, right? Obviously, the cat stomp right here is so powerful, it destroyed another cliff that completely dwarfs these guys, and he did it with a single landing of his kick after being convinced that he had superhuman strength. You have the kids that are running with Kaya essentially show that Django can quite literally sever 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trees all in a single throw of his chakram. Luffy can snap trees. Like, we're already starting to reach the portions of the pre-time skip. Not pre-time skip. East Blue, where Luffy definitely does show not only extremely impressive physical feats, but there's a topic here that needs to be discussed. Have you noticed how useless shinobi ranks become? Kakashi and Danzo fall far from other Kage. The line between Jonin and Chunin blurs, and Naruto was a Genin forever. I don't know. It starts to blur, especially when you read the initial portions of Naruto, when you can tell that, like, even some, I'll show you guys. I actually do talk about this early in the video. Do you see yourself ever scaling an L to the moon explosion? I can talk about it. I will talk about it. I will find the panel and I will talk about it for sure. It is something that I think is worth discussing since it is canon to the story. Do I believe that as I'm writing this video, it'll entirely change my mind as to an L being moon level? Maybe not, but it does add some validity to the power level that he already has, right? I'm willing to talk about it is what I'm saying. Do you think Kuro should be utilized more, and do you like his design? I like Kuro as a villain. I think that he has a very calm demeanor about him that's kind of off-putting. I've been realizing more and more that a villain that is able to maintain and control their emotions, even in high yields of stress, I find him very interesting. Why must you not be so blatant with your statements and have your characters outright tell us what, tell us the not how I hate him? It's as simple, it's only directed, light speed feed is dodging mod that is light fan because it's equivalent, Luffy and Ororonoro beams. Okay, let me cover this real quick and then, okay. So you got this guy. You got Rido, I think his name was, and Toothpick Guy, which I forgot what his name was. I definitely forgot his name. So you got these two guys, right? Now, one man, you mentioned like how the line between Chunin and Jonin starts to blur, and I 100% did make a video that says he scales to destroying the alien equipment, which destroyed the survived the explosion with no scratch, but got destroyed easily by him. Fair enough. Ripping through a cliff is something we see Fang over Fang do in the Sasuke retrieval arc. Cool. Sorry. Can you give me a chapter for that, one smart, please? Can you give me a chapter for that? Okay. Genin and Jonin become useless terms since the Anbu captain level in Bleach. For the Anbu captain level in Bleach is the same thing, just all over the place. Can't you argue the explosion cloud doesn't equate to its DC? You can definitely argue it. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm gonna bring up the argument. I'm gonna give a couple of interpretations for it. I don't know if I'm gonna entirely use it to scale Enel's attack potency, per se. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but we'll go through it for now, right? You could still say that an explosion powerful enough to wipe out an entire country by Enel. Let's just say he does scale to the Raigo. His lightning does scale to the Raigo. It's more so a matter of size. You can probably just argue that he amassed enough lightning or whatever to, like, you know, blow up the whole thing. But anyway. So you have these two Jonin, right? Now, this creates... This is one of the things... Did you see your last message? I did, right? Country level? Yeah, country level, right? Oh, Calx put it at multi-continental. I just don't know if you think multi-continental pre-time-skip gears directly contradicted, or is it just unlikely via narrative? I think it's unlikely via narrative, if I had to be honest with you, Aura. I don't know if Luffy necessarily reveals or shows any kind of continental scaling up until that point. I'm more okay with country level, at least by the time he fights Enel, but I think it's fine regardless, right? I think country level at, like, the highest end possible, if you think that dispersing the energy by swinging around that golden ball puts the total energy yield at country level, or if you think that Luffy's punches scale directly to it. Why so toxic title every time, even though it's true? A motherfucker gonna attack you saying you praise your favorite OP? Not talking to swine. Sorry, not talking to swine. I'm not doing it. Anyway, he should scale to the Raigo, as he only needed the Arc Maxim because he was so far up high that he needed clouds was too... Oh yeah, isn't it also that, like, dark clouds, black clouds don't also appear? Yeah, black clouds don't actually appear in the Sky Islands, right? He needed the black clouds to generate more electricity, right? It was something like that. We'll get to that whenever I get to that. I'll get to that whenever I get to that, right? So we'll talk about that whenever we get to the point. But this is something that, like, I did want to bring up in regards to the comment that one man made about how the line between Chunin and Genin and all that stuff starts to blur. So obviously you could sit here and say, well, the Sound Four are very powerful. They defeated two Jonin from the Hidden Leaf. And it's kind of, this is one of those, like, really weird things where it's like, these Jonin got completely fucked up by the Sound Four, right? Like, they visibly got fucked up. I don't know how you can sit here and tell me that a guy essentially dangling, being face in the floor, face covered in blood, covered in kunai, a couple of kunai throws, actually just like 2 kunai and 1 shuriken, 3 shuriken and 1 kunai, right? They got fucked up. I'm not going to sit here and deny it, but I did want to bring up a quick thing where they mentioned right here that, they said right here, we were such in a hurry, what are we going to do? We kick up our feet. Fighting in our second state took a toll on all of us. The tough part is being unable to use our bodies for a while. They were Jonin and 2 of them to boot. If we had held back, we'd be dead right now, right? So it obviously implies that these 2 guys are at least somewhat relative to the Cursed Marks version 2 amps. They are at least relative to them. Eon painted an X over that guy's location, yeah. 100%. Ligma D's, as far as I'm concerned, is like, people like that at this point, I'm just gonna start timing them out if they're gonna start with the bullshit. Like, if you can give me an actual argument, sure, we can have a conversation, but if you're one of those people that, if you're one of the usuals that just starts with the bullshit, I'm just not gonna entertain it. I really don't care. Your opinion means nothing to me. You don't, it's based entirely on emotions and not based on any actual kind of evidence. There is a panel that I did want to look up right here, where they do make a comment. I mean, granted, we were coming off of a mission and out of chakra, but look what happened to his Jonins. We should throw together a team of Jonin and send them as backup, right? This does paint a very good light on the Jonin. I'm not gonna lie to you, it does paint... as far as I understand, it gets the multi-continental based on the light intensity of light required to make an explosion visible from the moon. Otherwise, it gets around country level. I think country level's fine, though. Like, wouldn't country level still technically be, like, within Enel's... Yeah, country level would still technically be within Enel's attack potency considering the Raigo, right? If you believe that he scales to the Raigo, right? If you believe that he scales to the Raigo. With the chili pepper 100 times, so multi-continental. Yeah, Skype, he has no thunderclouds. All the arc does is produce them under normal circumstances, and Nell can perform the same feat as Kieran. Yeah. Bro, there's an hour-long video in depth about Luffy's scale and goes out of its way to lowball everything Luffy does, and he still gets to planetary by the end of Wano. I can get him to planetary by the end of Wano easily by just comparing him to Whitebeard. That's really just the argument, right? Without any calcs or anything, that would just be the argument. So Choji is Kakashi doing a Chidori level speed, yeah. Does an L stop at Kuma? I think Kuma could speed blitz him. I think Kuma could 100% speed blitz him. So, right here, it says, but man, if Sasuke's in that, if it was Sasuke in that casket against foes like that, a handful of Genin won't do, right? It creates this kind of a weird scenario where, like, okay, the Sound 4 were clearly in a weakened state, or at least somewhat exhausted around the point in time, around the specific point in time where the other Genin must have fought them, right? So there's even an argument that could be made. There is even an argument that could be made where the Sound 4 are potentially stronger than the Sasuke retrieval crew, and if it wasn't for them fighting the Jonin at the start, they wouldn't, they probably wouldn't have lost, but that really doesn't matter at the end of the day. That mostly just comes down to speculation, and I don't think it really changes much, right? I think it also does create, when Enel says the country will disappear, you can argue he'll vaporize it like he did Angel Island, potentially getting into large country continental, consistent with the moon feat. That also works, right? If you're going by calcs and you think that the calculations comparatively can get it up to country to continental, I think that's fine, right? Bro, I have a question. According to you, ACOA 4, Gear 4 Luffy, according to you, is 9,000 times FTL, and then base ACOC. I never said base ACOC. I never said base ACOC. I said when you stack his 300 times FTL base with a 30 times amp for ACOC and a 30 times amp for ACOA, not ACOA, just Gear 4, you get the total of 270,000. So if his base form is 300 times FTL because it must have surpassed its previous Gear 4 self, this is the multiplier for Gear 4, and this is the bare minimum multiplier for ACOC. The version of Luffy that I think is 270,000 times the speed of light is Gear 4 Bounce Man Luffy on the rooftop before he unlocks Gear 5. Not the one before he unlocks Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Not the one before Luffy gets thrown out of Onigashima. After Luffy uses Gear 4 for the last time before Gear 5. Amp speed, it has to. It has to amp speed. He is literally blitzing Kaido. He is literally blitzing. He is quite literally outperforming his previous fourth gear self. Where did the 30 times boost come from ACOC? Simple. Okay. I'll explain it. If we can agree, it is essentially however powerful Gear 4 is. It is at the very least however powerful Gear 4 is. If you get tired of the Naruto stuff, you have my blessing and take my original idea of Chinjiao versus Garp versus Garp versus Bang. Honestly, if you ever want to make that video, I'm so down to collab in it, if anything. I'm so glad. You could post it on your channel or whatever. We don't need to make a video for me. So we could just set up a voice call. We could sit down and just yap for a bit, and then you can give all the scaling for One Punch Man. I can give the scaling for Chinjiao or /Garp. I know you already know it, but You know, that way we both have something to say. And we can just make the video together. I wouldn't mind doing that. Does it need to? I believe he just got faster from fighting. I mean, every time he uses it, he gets a massive burst in speed. So yeah, I would argue that yes, it does amp his speed. I would argue. If you believe he's just getting faster from fighting, that's completely fine. You don't have to agree with it. I do think that Advanced Conqueror's Haki Luffy outperforms in every way, shape, and form his previous Gear 4 self. Got a specific boost, but Gear 4 says several times amp, beyond second gear. So more than 2, less than about 8. And I use 3 as the bare minimum. Or someone so 100% certain about Luffy versus Naruto, why haven't you debated well-known Naruto power scalers like Sage of Thick Calves or Seth the Programmer? Very simple reason. I don't think I can platform Seth the Programmer, and Sage of Thick Calves doesn't know anything about One Piece power scaling, so it would be a one-sided debate if I know everything about Naruto, including him, but he doesn't know jack shit about One Piece. He can't debate somebody that doesn't know the other story at all, and if he goes by calcs, I don't have a single reason to debate someone that goes by a completely separate metric. Also, I don't debate people. I want to have a conversation. I don't believe in debating, and either way, the guy, at least from everything that I saw from that one debunk that he did, the guy literally just listens to whomever is willing to downplay One Piece. I don't personally care to do it. It's a waste of time, is what I'm saying. It's a genuine waste of time to talk to people like that. Anyway, yeah, so Luffy is clashing with Kaido, keeping up with him, and he is now, and mind you, the reason why I also think he's outperforming Gear 4 is because unlike with his Gear 4 self, Luffy is now certain that he can tell everyone, go ahead and let everyone know I'm going to beat him no matter what it takes. Like, Luffy is now feeling so confident in his own abilities. Didn't you try to reach out on the debunk stream? I think so? I don't remember. Did I try to do that? I don't remember. Yeah. There's just no point in having a conversation with somebody that doesn't know anything about One Piece scaling, and at best, what is he really going to be able to argue for Naruto? Like, if he believes in the Naruto planetary or universal metas, that's his belief to have. It doesn't make an objective thing for us. It's very simple. Very simple logic. I agree he's outperforming Gear 4. I just don't attribute it to Haki amping his speed. Why not? Why don't you attribute it to Haki amping his speed? If he's outperforming Gear 4, if he's more confident in fighting Kaido, if he's keeping up with Kaido better than he did with Gear 4, why would you believe that it's not amping his speed? But my go-to is comparing Django and Asuma. Asuma can cut through trees and rock if he really tries with his main ability. Django cuts multiple, and Luffy tanks an unaware to the back of the head. I didn't bring up the Azuma comparison. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that. I wasn't entirely sure if I wanted to do that, but I don't know if it's necessary. You did comment on their stream? I did, right? Okay. Says, how can he expand at lightning speed? Okay. Anyway, if you don't believe that Gear 4 doesn't amp his speed, that's completely fine. I'm going to still argue that it does, because again, he's outperforming his last one. Is Naruto the Last Punch on the Moon canon? Yeah, you can count it as canon. I'm gonna talk about the Naruto the Last movie. Don't worry about that. I do think that at least from tangible evidence, you can 100% tangible. And what I mean is tangible, I mean let me not say objective feats. Let me not say that. By tangible, I mean a feat that is performed in comparison to another feat of a high level of scale rather than through chain scaling. I do think that Naruto can arguably have higher attack potency if you don't want to give Luffy the planetary meta by scaling off of Whitebeard, and you just don't want to expand Luffy past continental to multi-continental or whatever the fuck value you're gonna throw in. I do think that Naruto then at that point would outscale Luffy in terms of attack potency, but I don't think that it really matters in the end. Speed-wise, because it would be only example of ACOC doing that. What do you mean it would be the only example? And Luffy always grows during his fights. Yeah, but he always grows during his fights after either having a meal or after some time has passed. So it would be reasonable to say Luffy simply grew during his fight. Yes and no. Luffy growing in fights is learning how to fight against his opponent. When he becomes stronger, when there is a visual difference, when there is a visual objective difference from one form or the other, Luffy either
takes some rest, either gets a break, he takes a break, he gets some rest, or when does there's Momonosuke, so we have to go a bit farther back. Where is the Momo? There's the meat stuff. 1 second. Ooh. Right here. Like, this is the instance where I can say Luffy did get stronger throughout the fight. This is the instance where I believe that Luffy got stronger throughout the fight. After Luffy had an entire meal, healed back up, and went back up to fight Kaido. Right? Kind of unrelated to this, but how high would you say that someone's AP is if they destroy a boulder? They have the capacity to destroy a boulder. That is how high their AP is. They can destroy boulders. Covering his limits? Yeah. The narrative is clearly covering his limits. Naruto's taijutsu... No, taijutsu cannot hurt Luffy. There's no argument you can make that his taijutsu would all of a sudden... I found it. This statement is garbage. What's the statement? Did you send it to me? Oh, no, you haven't. Okay. If you send me the statement, I can check it out. I remember we saw it before, but you think that you're going to bring up the anime original scene of pre-time skip Luffy one-shotting a mountain? What part of the series... When does Luffy do that? Are you talking about when Luffy, are you talking about the flashback scene where Luffy destroys like a large boulder, like a large hill? Yeah, I was gonna bring that up towards the end of it. Can you explain the whole tourney meta again from start, or at least the Wano part? Okay. What I mean, only example is, has Luffy or anyone ever blitzed someone that was comparable to him simply by activating ACOC? I mean, Zoro is getting caught off guard by... Zoro is literally getting caught off guard and getting caught by surprise by someone like King during their fight, and as soon as he stabilizes and activates ACOC, Zoro's no longer getting blitzed by him, even with his flame off, right? Like, Zoro versus King, you can clearly see that Zoro's now physically keeping up much better against King with or without the flame on state. Zoro versus King, right? Let's just use this one. Okay. This is... I would have to pull up the actual episode and scenes. But yeah, Zoro, as an example, does amp his physical stats. Yes, random shit. Yes, we know that the moon is hollow to an extent. Yes, we know that. Did Rio boost defenses since it's stated to be superior to regular armament hockey? I don't know. So Rio, what people define as Rio is just you saying like armament hockey. There's no difference between saying Rio and regular armament hockey, right? Rio, I would say that it's not so much that Rio itself is, or at least the advanced applications aren't improving Luffy's defenses, it's more so Luffy's hockey's just tough. But like Zoro and Sanji all grew during their fights and have grown, yes, but again, what is the staggering difference between Zoro before Advanced Conqueror's Haki and after Advanced Conqueror's Haki, right? What's the difference? Zoro is now physically capable of knocking back King, being faster, reacting to King better, being more consistent with his attacks. That's what I'm talking about. Even if, like, they're not just growing mid-fight. You don't see Zoro grow mid-fight against King until he uses Advanced Conqueror's Haki. You don't see Sanji deal much damage to Queen, at least as far as the prior end of the fight, when he finishes him off, until he awakens Ifrit Jamba. My last explanation question. And also, is Rio and ACOA the same? You could say it's the same thing, yes. It's just the term that Wano people use in the same way that mantra is the term that the people of Skypiea use for observation haki. Okay, so the series is fast. They perception blitz someone who can dodge bullets at least, if not more. What are you talking about? It's in the Kuma flashback? Yeah. I know the flashback you're referencing. I believe I do have it. I believe I do have it in my in my PC. Someone asked me to advance Ryo's internal destruction. What boosts his defenses is COC guarding, and no, ACOC is not the same thing. No, he's not using COC to guard. COC to guard. I'm calcing an entirely different series and trying to document it. Ah, got you. I don't know why my message auto-translated, but I sent you the stuff. I got you. Spider, Warbow, Terrible Split. A destructive archery jutsu that is the perfect one-hit kill. By using his 8 limbs, Kidomaru can boost the tension in a bow to extraordinary level. Also, by attaching a chakra thread to the arrow, he can control it up to 50 meters from his target, achieving an astounding accuracy. On top of this, the third eye, which opens, enters his level 2, gives him unmatched precision. Even from distances he cannot be sensed, his lightning speed arrow pierces through his target. Even from hundreds of meters away, he can perceive his opponents from a vital spot. That's good stuff, actually. The Water Fang bullet, yeah, lightning fast. I already know about that one. The 10-finger drilling bullet, fired from 10 fingers. Wait, which jutsu is this? Kimimaru. Slinging stones at people using one's arm out. The thing is that these rocks are bones, hardened finger bones, more so since its spinning motion is added to the skeletal. Bullets, a direct hit will whittle and excavate skin and flesh, of course, but even as well, this jutsu is essential to Kimimaru for his long distance. Fired from the 10 fingers, the lightning fast projectiles will tear through flesh and blood. Okay, and swelling his limbs, felling at the lightning speed. Okay, partial multi-size technique. Felling the enemy at lightning speed. So this one doesn't even mean that like he actually expands at lightning speed. It's just saying that he'll bring them down at lightning speed. I think that's 100% being hyperbolic considering Choji doesn't bring anybody down. Practical application lets one expand their own body. Multi-size. The swelling of a single body part is one of the way to increase the power of one's physical attacks. Any bodily part may be augmented this way, but for ease of use, the arm legs tend to be chosen quite frequently. Like the majority of the Akimichi clan's techniques, this one requires a considerable amount of chakra. I'm saying he can use COC to guard like Rox was doing the same for Herald. But at what point are you referencing? Are you referencing like after he unlocks ACOC or afterwards? Because I think that still is just a part of ACOC since regular Conqueror's Haki doesn't do anything besides like knock the person out, right? Do you think the Marine bad statement is just looking at it black and white and not gray? What are you talking about? The Marine bad statement? Isn't that just a stylistic hyperbolic statement? At the end of the day, it's a shonen manga. Cool sentences will be written. What are you referencing? Oh, you didn't give up? Yeah, no, we're good. What exactly are you referencing? But he matches someone with ACOC. He would have a blitz tier gap if he activates ACOC. If that's true, I feel like his recent fights don't show that. Like, people thinking the Marines are just evil. I think it's one of those cases where, like, Marines join the Marines because they are viewed as the military force and they are viewed to stop pirates. Remember, in the same way that you can say that all pirates are evil is essentially a black and white statement, even though they're not yet. Actually, yeah, ACOC would be on guard. I'll be the guard on... Yeah. No, you're fine. I was just trying to clarify, because I was like, I don't think I've ever really seen an instance of regular Conqueror's Haki being used in offensive purposes besides, like, knocking people out. Luffy hasn't had to try and fight hasn't had to try for any fight post Wano except for the upcoming Emu fight. I would disagree. I would say that he did try against Kizaru. I would say that he at least had to make an effort against Kizaru. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. Okay. Anyway. So, yeah, a lot of the next point in the story that I think I'm gonna focus on for now is 100% gonna be By the way, I've been checking out this this manga. It's called Haimiya. Haimiya is scary cute. If anybody likes like cute romance manga, it's essentially about this girl that like gives off this very angry facial. She basically has like this very scary personality for everyone else, but she's very nice to the main protagonist, who's just a chill dude. Like, he's just a chill, shy dude. She's so cute. I love this shit, right? I'm like 15, 16 chapters in. I think it's really cute. And I think one of my favorite parts is that they technically go on like a mini date. I was talking to my girlfriend about this. I was telling her about it. This guy was imagining like what she would show up in, what outfit, and I was like, yo, I love this kind of fit. It's kind of reminiscent of like something like I feel like my girlfriend would wear, besides maybe like the shirt, but I would see her wearing something like this, and I'm like, I like it because it's not too much, right? Like, I feel like a lot of the times manga gets a bad name for overly sexualizing characters, especially those that might be within the context of high school. So I like it when they show a character with a very nice art style that doesn't, and they don't have to overly sexualize or do anything, right? Some baggy clothes, a nice little shirt, and they're going on a nice little date, right? I like that kind of stuff. I really love Tune Into the Midnight Heart. Nice. NTR art style. The last one's for Tsunade. I don't know if you saw. Oh! The last one? Oh, the body pathway derangement. Yeah. I remember talking about this one. I think it was in the Gojo video. I think I talked about this specific statement in the Gojo video, right? Is it true that your AI girlfriend is a tomboy? No, she's a girl's girl. She's a girl's girl. She tries to be a bad mama jamma, as the kids would say. The TV moves fight shows something, man. Literally blitzes Kizaru with a White Star gun while Kizaru is looking directly at him. It doesn't get more blatant than that. I'm very picky about my rom, but I'm a hater for a rom-com. It's definitely a short series. So far, it's only about 30-something chapters, so I would definitely recommend it for anybody that wants to like give a watch to something. I also checked this one out, Kindergartner Wars. They essentially got a bunch of. It's essentially like a bunch of kids. A bunch of these kids are. I'll put it like this: these are like the kids of a bunch of like, diplomats, kings, queens. Like the kids are essentially like children for very important people, and all of these teachers, these kindergarten teachers, their caretakers, they're essentially all death row assassins who are being told if you are able to protect all the brats, we'll essentially keep you guys alive and let you guys walk free as long as you guys are able to do this kind of stuff. It's kind of crazy. Like, this girl is basically capable of stopping a bullet with a sniper round with a little shovel. And then she just throws that way so fucking... She just, like, blitzes the guy and already meets him there. This shit is kind of crazy. She also has this thing for letting hot guys go. She basically falls in love with every hot guy because there's no way to find somebody to... Yeah, there's no way to find somebody to fall in love with in this kind of line of work. I found it kind of interesting. How do you like your eggs? With dashi? How do you eat your stew? Poured over rice? And taiyaki with smoot, he definitely needs to die. And when it comes to fried chicken, no lemon on mine. I can't believe it. We're on the same page about all those things. You gotta be my soulmate. Do you stay through all of a movie's ending credits? Nope, I leave the theater without watching them. She blasted his head off. Yeah, she blasts his head off because he says he leaves the movie without watching the credits. That shit is crazy. She has to get back into work, yeah. And then, yeah, the kids are basically like their only saving grace. Yeah, it's interesting. I would recommend that. Let me look up the One Piece manga real quick. I do want to get a bit of work done before I do anything else today. Hollywood does the same with shows like Euphoria, 90210, One Tree Hill, where all high school students' entertainment is really odd. Yeah, I never checked out Euphoria. I think that's where like Sydney Sweeney apparently got her whole like start from. I'm gonna be so fucking honest. I didn't know who the fuck's like for the longest time. I thought Sydney Sweeney was a fucking porn star. Like I didn't know who the fuck she was. To be honest, can you with a name like that, can you fucking blame me? I don't know. Whenever I see a girl with like a name like Riley Reid. Then I think like Sydney Sweeney, I'm just like, dude. I don't know. I never saw a single thing that Sydney Sweeney's in, so I just never thought of it. I never seen a single piece of work with Sydney Sweeney until I found out like 2 years ago, or like a year and a half ago. When I found out like, oh wait, she's an actual actress. Like she actually worked for something. I never even saw Euphoria. Koro Sensei versus DMS Kakashi and Night Guy. Yeah, probably DMS Kakashi and Night Guy. What? Koro Sensei's only like in the Mach. How isn't he like in the Mach speeds? Like Mach 200 something, 250 something. How fast is Koro Sensei? Peak Revenge Manga redo the Gila Eon. You need to watch it. I'm good for now. I'm not even really reading that Kindergarten Wars manga, but I kind of just like clicked on it and started reading like a chapter or two, and I was like, okay, this is pretty interesting shit. Okay. Okay. What the fuck? Did I close it? I closed it. Oh wait, no, I didn't. Okay. Let me get some more water, and then I thought he was stated to be Mach 10, but I'm sure there are higher arguments when you ignore it. Yeah, they're probably higher arguments. They're probably higher arguments. Doesn't he also? Isn't he like indestructible by like most? Isn't he indestructible by most Earth-made materials besides like a very specific? Besides an extremely like specific material that they used to smoke. I watched the show, but I'm not gonna remember anything from it. Did you see the Elden Ring videos? I did see the Elden Ring videos. I did not know that the Godskin Apostles were that fucking big, dude. As a matter of fact, like the difference between Radahn consort of Mikola and then the Radahn to Star Scourge, massive. Like I genuinely didn't think the Radahn was comparatively that big. And the lake in, I think it was like Limgrade or Liurnia. Fucking huge, dude. Also, the dragons are massive. Elden Ring playthrough. If you guys ever want to see me play through Elden Ring, I'm down for that. I wouldn't mind that. If One Piece slams Naruto that bad, I can't imagine how badly Bleach does Naruto. Probably. I'm not scaling Bleach. I told myself I wasn't gonna do that shit because I don't even want to remotely interact with the Bleach community. But yeah. Yeah, you need like some plastic material, right? Do you think Asuma is weaker in physical stats than Part 1 Sasuke or Gaara? If not, Asuma scales higher than Rock Lee's tree level feat. With his max technique, ignoring feats isn't valid. What do the truth-seeking orbs do? They touch things and probably dismantle them on a greater extent than Gremmy versus Uta. Uta sings so quickly, Gremmy gets caught in her world and likely has no abilities within the context of her dream world. You're scaling Bleach, though? The bounty was paid? I am scaling Bleach, that's right. That's right. That's right, you did pay me for that. My bad. I guess I will be making the Bleach scaling video. That's right. What's wrong with Bleach? As far as scaling goes, I mean, it's not if you're being disingenuous. As far as the scaling goes, it's... The cosmology of the world is essentially extremely fucking... It's extremely fucked. And I don't mean this from the perspective of, like... I don't mean this from the perspective of, like, I don't like Bleach, therefore it must be weak. It's more so from the perspective of, like, I'll give you an example. Smiling friends, nail, holding building. Yeah. This is basically the Bleach verse if you kill 1,000 Hollow. If you eradicate 1,000 Hollow, this is basically the Bleach verse. As soon as you remove that little... the Bleach verse is so... The cosmology of the verse is so fragile, so unstable... that if you remove this nail is metaphorically the nail is a metaphor for the Soul King. If you remove the Soul King, essentially all of this shit happens. Like this is exactly what was happening in the verse before, like when Ichigo had killed the Soul King, and then Mimi Hagi essentially had to become, or I guess it was like the right hand. It was like Mimi Hagi, right? It was like the right hand. The right hand essentially had to be a second nail to put it together, right? Like that's kind of my issue. It's like, the cosmology of the verse is so fragile that it could essentially go down with transcends the cosmology? No, he essentially is the linchpin. If he does not exist, it just all breaks apart. It all breaks down. You have to be saying Bleach has no multipliers and they are not spiritual in natures. No. You can say that Bleach has multipliers 100%. You can say that Bleach has multipliers. There's a 10 times amp at the very most for Bankai, and there is a 10 times amp for Resurrection. Segunda Etapa and regular Resurrección, and Holification. But that's kind of it. That's kind of where it stops. Like, there's no greater amps than that. The characters don't have any comparable, tangible, destructive capacity feats, at least from the perspective of how powerful is a Lanza del Relámpago? Can it actually blow up all of Las Noches? Cool. How big is Las Noches? We don't know. Of course that's going to happen. Listen, I'm not going to get into a whole conversation about bleed scaling. I don't want to do that. If I ever make a video, I'm just going to put it out. I don't care what anyone really thinks. I'm just going to put it out to give you guys the scaling that I think it is. But I think that Bleach has extremely unquantifiable scaling. I also find it weird that Uryu's entire plan was to essentially drop the Soul King, not the Soul King, drop the castle that Yhwach was on as if that was his attempt. Like, I just think that in general, the writing is bad and the scaling is... It's all over the place. I'll say that much. It's all over the place. But again, I don't really care. If you got, we're not gonna turn this into a big thing. I'm not gonna talk bad about it. Blah 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 blah. Let's just leave it be. He does transcend the cosmology. Cool then. Fantastic. Cool. Aren't nearly that powerful in their AP and DC. Yeah. Hanging on by a thread. Yeah, basically hanging on by a thread. Yeah. Anyway, moving past this. Okay. Honestly, I disagree with how people use the Bankai multipliers. Yoriichi gave an indicative number that it's for the Bankai's ability, not the user's stats. So you're saying that it makes the Bankai itself more powerful, not the users themselves. Marine are the reasons why pirates exist. Pirates and bandits are different. The Marines are the world government's military force. Are the reason why pirates exist? Getting rid of the Soul King is not an everyday thing. Yeah, but destroying 1,000 hollows is a lot of a simpler task than I think most people realize. Killing 1,000 hollows, like eradicating them completely, also isn't that crazy of a thing. I mean, average Quincy's can do that, and after slaughtering 1,000 hollows, they needed to slaughter 1,000 souls in the Soul Society in the Rukong district. Otherwise, the cosmology was going to be broken up. It doesn't matter if you talk about the Soul King, or it doesn't matter if you bring up like 1,000. If you destroy souls in the Bleach burst, the cosmology goes kaput. Like, it doesn't matter. They literally bring it up in the 1,000-Year Blood War how without the direction, essentially the research and development squad. Yamamoto was speaking to Mayuri Kurotsuchi and the research and development squad essentially said, like, yeah, no, we had to wipe out 1,000 souls, or else it would have been a situation where everything's fucked. Like, again, it doesn't matter if it's 1,000 hollow or the Soul King itself. The cosmology is essentially held together by duct tape. You don't really see this in most other verses, where killing something in the verse causes everything to sort of start to fuck up. Anyway, Soul King versus Shibai. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know, and I don't care. They are both essentially feetless people. All the Soul King did was essentially separate the three worlds. It's a hacks-based feat, in my opinion. It's unquantifiable. It doesn't really mean anything as far as how hard the Soul King hits or how powerful or fast the Soul King is. And Shibai is essentially just walking statements. Shibai is nothing more than a concept at this point. It's nothing more than statements. I don't really care what Shibai is capable of doing because I have nothing to go off of. Yeah, no. We've already talked about it a lot of times. We've already talked about that a lot of times, Drake. It's just because the TSO damaged the Edo Tensei. That's really it. I see where you're coming from. I do agree. Like, a lot of Shikai abilities are just the Bankai abilities expanded, and a lot of Bankai abilities are completely different from what the Shikai does. I mean, yeah, no, Shibai is definitely more of a narrative merchant than the Soul King. I'm not going to deny that, but it's still one of those cases where it just boils down to, do you like the Soul King more, or do you like Shibai more? That's all it boils down to, right? What's up, Stinko? It just boils down to one or the other, right? Either you like Shibai more or you like the Soul King more. That's kind of it. It doesn't really matter. This is one of those versus battles that, like, it just genuinely does not matter who you say. There is absolutely no way you can make an argument for either or. Like, they have nothing to go off of other than the Soul King separating 3 realms and being its linchpin, and Shibai transcending to a 4th dimension and all the Shinjutsu or whatever. Kenpachi and Ichigo, some specifically don't. I mean, yes, here's the thing. Increasing power 10 times would depend on whether or not the Shikai, the Bankai to Shikai ratio is like, if your Bankai is a physical Bankai like Ichigo or Kenpachi, yeah, 100%. It is just I can 100% believe it's just a straight up stat amp. But in most cases, one could argue that, for example, like, Byakuya's Shikai versus his Bankai is also a 10 times amp, because it's essentially just an expanded version of a Shikai. You can argue that, Rukia's Shikai isn't 10 times stronger than her... Sorry, her Bankai isn't 10 times stronger than her Shikai. She just gets an even higher extent of ability as far as... Byakuya legit says his Bankai doesn't raise his stats. Same for the bald guy. Okay. He just gets powers in that case. Okay. Got you. Yeah, Bleach, I don't know, man. Bleach is just all over the place with so much of its scaling. You either use calcs or you don't. It's kind of you either use calcs or you don't. There's a new chapter out. Is Byakuya hot? I mean, if you find him attractive, you find him attractive. I think that bullshit that he has on his hair looks really stupid, and I don't like characters who wear scarves for no reason. So, I guess not my personal type, you could say. I mean, at least 2 universes. I don't think Hueco Mundo is infinite in size, start collapsing because of the Soul King. But I'm not gonna sit here and call them universes. It kind of just really is the world of the living and the Soul Society. That's kind of it. Like, the Soul Society, I'm sorry, there's no argument, there is nothing in the series that's gonna convince me that the Soul Society in of itself is an entire universe. I do not believe it. I think it is a world. I think it is a planet. Whether it's on another dimension or whatever, cool, that's fine. I don't think that the crumbling of the Soul Society means the crumbling of an entire macrocosm. I don't believe that. There's no way I'm gonna believe that. Can you give me a heads up for the One Piece, please? There's no new chapter out yet, so don't worry about it. I'm not gonna check out the link. It's fine. We can check him out later. It's fine. We're not gonna go at it right now. Meet Statement Man. He's stated to be that guy. People say he's him. Feeds. Don't need them. Got dialogue from people that watched them fight before the story. Also, Yorichi said 5 to 10 times. Why does everyone always assume 10 times? Because if you don't assume 10 times, then you're biased against Bleach. Here's the thing, and this is one of the things that kind of like always find so interesting about like this topic of conversation, is the rules for thee, but not for me. In every single case, one can argue that one can go to 5 to 10 times depending on the character, etc., etc., but then you create a scenario where, well, if you view it as a 5 times amp for any character, then it's automatically viewed as, you know, you being disingenuous, even though it could potentially be argued. I have no way of telling you how high the castle is. Unquantifiable. What I mean is, what do you think happened to the people of Brooks Island after the fog and the war? They're pirates, marines. You could probably argue that the nation got wiped out. You could probably argue that. So all the comments for all those guys being multiversal were false? Shocking. Well, no. People want their verse to be the strongest. It's the same thing as if you've never seen Naruto and you hear people constantly calling it multiversal, omniversal, all that shit, right? It's like, it's just opinions. Read the story for yourself, sit down, take your time, read the story for yourself, and come to a conclusion on your own, is what I can say. Don't really focus. At the end of the day, a person's line of scaling is going to be what makes the most sense to them, whether it's through narrative, whether it's through personal bias, etc., 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 etc. All I'm saying is, if you want to find out how strong a verse is, I think the best way to go about it... What's up, Scott? I think the best way to go about it is to just read it, watch it yourself, and learn to do the scaling yourself. If you don't know how powerful destroying a boulder is, then just say the character is powerful enough to destroy a boulder. It's that simple. If a character wipes out a portion of a country, then just say, yes, they have the capacity to wipe out a portion of a country. That's it. Falling of the Soul King, right hand reaching the castle, and instant, there must be some way. It's unquantifiable because you do not have the distance. Speed equals distance divided by time. You do not have the time, you do not have the exact time, you do not have the distance. It would be nothing more than an assumption. It's the might makes right thought process, but for fictional characters and universes. Yep. Yeah. It's just the Bleach verse is very different from others. For me, it's because of how delicate the lines between the three worlds is that it makes it hard to scale to such a level. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if the macrocosm, if the verse didn't have such an unstable, fucked up, like held by duct tape, cosmology. Yeah, sure, I could agree with it. Naruto versus and Sasuke versus Dragon Ball. I don't care. I don't really care for Sage of Thick Calves. They believe whatever they believe. They think that they get far. That's fine. I don't know if I would necessarily argue how far Naruto gets into Dragon Ball. I mean, realistically, they don't get past Saiyan Saga Vegeta, but if you think that Vegeta's faster than light, then they don't get past Saiyan Saga Vegeta. Scaling is the most contentious. Vilgax upscales, in my opinion, is the biggest example. The whole point is that he is weaker than without the Omnitrix. Why would he upscale it? Quincy's have their own soul society near Hell, which was unaffected by Yuhabaha. Interesting. His lowball Naruto is solar system level on God? For who? For Sage of Thick Calves? Yeah, I mean, he's allowed to believe that. I wouldn't personally argue it, but he's allowed to believe that. I don't care. I mean, what am I supposed to tell you? Like, yes, there is a line of logic. There does exist a line of scaling that you can get Naruto to solar system level based on Kaguya's ETSO or whatever. I don't think Naruto scales to it, but he's more than welcome to argue that. You think DBZ can overcome Bleach hacks or negate it? Both series do follow this inherent ideology of, or this inherent concept of the stronger you are, the less, it's not even the ETSO, so what's his argument? The stronger you are, the less effective your opponent's hacks are on you. And you can see this with Bleach, and you can see this with Dragon Ball. So I would argue, if both verses follow that same logic, then yes. Make a Naruto versus Bleach video so the two fandoms fight each other instead of fighting you. Yeah, but who do I say wins? By the way, people really think that Modulo Yuji over the big three? I mean, yeah, they're allowed to believe that. I don't personally care. They're allowed to believe that. And his mid-ball for Naruto is 4D, aka Universe Plus, and 10 to 27 billion times FTL. I would love to know what bullshit calc he got in order to get it to that extent. I'm not saying Vilgax is weak, just that he's not as powerful as many say he is. He's definitely upscales Ben as in the series, but even human Ben had been shown to throw hands with him. Are you talking about Ben 10,000 from like that one episode where we go into the future and Ben is and Ben's got like the full Omnitrix on his arm? Are you talking about Ben 10,000? Vilgax is so weird because he seems so more imposing when he comes back after like his physical upgrades. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he was beating the bricks off of Ben in the OG series. He just wanted to make an army of Omnitrix bots. But I think that Vilgax honestly felt a lot weaker after Vilgax started to feel a lot weaker after like Ben was around like the age of what, like 15 or whatever. When Ben fought Vilgax in that fight with Diamond Head, like he just felt so much weaker. And mind you, he absorbed the power of heroes from 10 different worlds, bro. Jokes aside, how far do you think Naruto gets into Bleach? If Naruto is planetary, like, I'm talking about Hokage-era Naruto, planetary and all that shit because of that one statement, I would say he's tossing with... I would say he's at least tossing with Ichigo and Yuhabaha. I would say at least he's tossing with them. I don't know if he's beating Yuhabaha, but I do think he's at least getting past a good number of the characters. Do I think he's getting past Yuhabaha's, shoot Stuffel? I think that, what's-his-face? The, Lily Barrow can definitely land blows on Naruto. I definitely think Lily Barrow can definitely land blows on Naruto. I don't know how he beats Gerard unless he just blows up Gerard completely with a tailed beast bomb, but considering how narratively big he has to be in order to fall from... In order that if he were to fall from the Light Castle, from the Lich Rain... If he were to fall on that, he would have destroyed the Soul Society. I don't know if they meant, like, the whole Soul Society, as in, like, the whole Serite, or if they meant, like, just, like, a large portion of, like, the city. Depends on how big you think the city is. I don't know if a tailed Beast Bomb would cover his entire size. But if Naruto can blow him up completely, then sure. And, actually, he says he can blow up the entire planet, so he should be able to blow him up. And then, I don't know how he beats Askin unless he goes for a one-shot technique. I guess a single-tailed beast bomb that Askin does beat him. From the last, by finding the Tensegon's force, being able to atomize tank, Doneri atomizing the moon. Yeah, Vilgax Showcase was questionable when Ben was 15 to 16, even though he was supposed to be at least planetary. I don't know if he was supposed to be planetary. He defeated the greatest heroes from 10 worlds. That's the thing. Destroying the city fucked up the size scaling a lot for me. Really. I think when it comes to the 1,000-Year Blood War, I think a lot of hacks would give him trouble. Oh, no, 100%. I think a lot of hacks would give him trouble, but as far as, like, outright raw power, I think he would do it. Like, I don't know if he's beating Gremmy. If Gremmy just turns all of his bones into, like, crackers. I don't know how he's healing from that specifically, because Naruto's never shown the capacity to heal all his bones, right? But it's also like, if Gremmy fights him in the same way that he fought Kenpachi, it's like Naruto should beat him, right? If Gremmy fights the way that he fought Yachiru, nothing happened. He loses, but if he fights the way he fought Kenpachi, I mean, what does he really have, right? He's gonna drop a giant meteor on Naruto? Congratulations, Naruto blows it up with a tailed beast bomb. Is 5D, aka low complex multiversal at infinite speed? I mean, I don't know how he gets that, but sure, he's welcome to have it. Are we having a genuine conversation now? I'm just talking to people. I'm just yapping. Whatever you think a genuine conversation means. One of the worst calculations I've ever seen by the looks of it in video was done by ChatGPT. All of us. I'm just talking to people on stream. I can't cover everybody. I'm trying to go back and make sure I can talk to people. Ben 10 Omniverse, Ben detransforms and still started throwing hands when Ben was younger. He was inexperienced and had mental nerves as he grew older. Vilgax just hasn't kept up. I think it's more so just of this idea that maybe, like, the writers, because remember, a series like Ben 10 has different writers as the series progresses. Ben will have different writers. They will go with different, or they have to go with different interpretations. Speaking of Naruto physical stats downplayed, did y'all take into consideration the multi-Glock 9 rounds to actually make a complete hole through a decent tree, and up to 50 cal is required to do that in one shot? Anyway, I think it's weird with the whole Vilgax thing, because, like, Vilgax, as the series progresses, just does seem to be, like, way less of a threatening character. And one shot on panel, and Naruto tanks as a kid, kind of shits on a gun level Naruto, I don't know, yeah. I mean, that's fair. If that's how it works by Calix, then I think that's fair. Yeah, Valkyrie guy falling, destroying, fucked up the scaling. Oh yeah, I saw this yesterday on stream, reached out to your most popular streams in quite a short time. But maybe perhaps it's the title that matters for the algorithm. Probably. It's probably just the stream title. Like, yeah, people that, like, listen, I mean, let's be honest here. Clickbait title makes people join the stream. Like, is that really such a big surprise? You know what I mean? I'm not saying, like, it's, I kind of just threw in the title because I'm like, fuck it, I don't know what to say, so I might as well just go with something that I know will at least give me some engagement for today, but yeah. I mean, Diamond Head is an overpowered Logia, but Vilgax lost aura. Diamond Head is pretty powerful, but I mean, the difference between a Ben of 5 years before and 5 years now is Ben being able to, like, literally smash his arm against Vilgax and it meaning nothing, and then Ben essentially being able to overpower Vilgax with the same alien. You know what I mean? It's like, his aliens must have just gotten way stronger, or Vilgax just isn't the same. Thoughts on end of series Yusuke versus current Luffy? I don't know anything about Yu Yu Hakusho scaling. I've only really seen, like, the death battles. I know that apparently Yusuke Urameshi has the potential to blow up a star or something like that. I think that's what they got him to with Calx. I'd probably have him at higher AP than Luffy, but I would probably argue that if he can die from having his internal organs destroyed, probably Luffy off of a speed blitz. Because I don't know if he's really that fast. You think Yuta can beat Yuji? End of series Yuji or Modulo Yuji? Absolutely not. Yuji before he awakens and learns Dismantle? Probably. As Ben gets better, Vilgax seems weaker, but it's just experience, probably. Shinjuku Showdown? Again, early Shinjuku Showdown or later Shinjuku Showdown? Because I would say that Yuji has completely different scaling from one to the other. I would 100% argue. Do people understand what immeasurable speed means? How on earth is Naruto immeasurable? Awakened Yuji is not that guy, man. I think he is. I think that narratively he's considered one of, if not the strongest. I don't know why people say that Yuji isn't that impressive at when like he's fighting Sukuna. He's the only one that like was consistently fighting Sukuna after Gojo. He basically only stopped after like his domain, after he physically could not, after his RCT could not physically keep up with the damage that Sukuna was dealing him at the start. The aliens do age with Ben, so it makes sense for them to get stronger. No, you're right about that. You're right about that 100%. 100% you're right about that. Higher ends for 5D immeasurable. End of series use case shows comfortably planetary. I don't know any highballs though. So if he's comfortably planetary, I think that's fine. Like, if it's planetary, then I could say band for band, he can probably shoot it with Luffy. It's just a speed matter. If you can't get him to a couple of thousand times faster than the speed of light, I don't know, I don't know how exactly he wins a fight against someone much faster. Unless you think he can survive the planet being blown up and he just blows it up, right? You ever see a fully safe for work artist draw a weirdly detailed armpit and you just know they just flew too close to the sun? Trying to draw good feet, but not so good that people think I'm into it. That's funny as fuck. Why did my friend send me that? That's funny as fuck. Now, some people really have Naruto at immeasurable speeds for some atrocious reasons. Yeah, I mean, they like Naruto. They want him to be the strongest that he can possibly be. The strongest of tomorrow. I know you agreed to scale regular show, but would you ever consider power scaling cartoons like Danny Phantom or Ben 10? I'd love to do Ben 10 and Danny Phantom. I'd love to do that. I think that would be fun. I think that would be fun to make a video, and I'd probably end up doing streams in, on Discord. I'd probably end up doing streams on Discord where I just set up the stream, I just start watching the episodes, and I just take notes on the side while I'm watching episodes, you know? I was thinking about doing that for a while now. It's more so a matter of, like, finding the time and energy to do that when I'm not working on this. Which, speaking of which, I should actually write some stuff down. Okay, so moving on to the next adventure, we're introduced to Don Krieg, who considers himself to be, I don't know. What should I go with this? You think that Kizaru was struggling against religion because it said that Kizaru captured pirates out of frustration? I don't know, man. I'm not sure. Not all 5D metas ends with immeasurable speed, so yeah, high end. I mean, that's still fine. How does one even scale Alien X? Celestial Sapien? I mean, just go with what they do. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And apparently Alien X isn't even the strongest hero in Ben's watch. Watch party on Discord? I haven't seen anything in LBEF, so I'd be down for it. I'd be down to do a little watch party. I meant Rayleigh. I meant, oh, okay. You think was struggling against Rayleigh because it said Kizaru captured pirates out of frustration? I mean, Rayleigh had his attention enough that he couldn't finish off Luffy or the other, so I would say probably some. Think Yusuke isn't planetary until end of series. Media literacy plummets. To be fair, there is an actual ongoing epidemic where like more and more people are showing the inability to read. Right? Where is it? By the way, because I know this looks crazy, this is Kathy trying to ruin Jim's marriage. I wasn't looking at anything crazy, that just happens to be the fucking thumbnail, because I know some people are going to point that out. What the fuck? Don't do that. I'm easy. There we go. Yeah, I've been watching some content before. I think I brought this up before, but like, yeah. We're getting to a point. Terrorism won't change. I got it. This is nasty. Career. She did what? Reduction. Humiliation. Destin. It's his fault. Going to jail. This is nasty. Revenge gone wrong. Can't read. Let me see. This generation can't read and it's getting sad. Yeah. Yeah, this generation, like, media literacy is, like, it's not some joke. Like, media literacy is actually fucking plummeting. Like, more and more people today cannot read, and it does start from the show. Wait, what? What do you mean he isn't the strongest on the watch? Yeah, there's a statement in the series that says that Alien X is not the most powerful alien that Ben has in the watch. It is not the most powerful. Alien X, he technically has aliens in the watch that are technically more powerful. The writers just never showed us, named them, or did anything, because how the fuck do you draw, or how the fuck do you conceptualize an alien as far as Ben's series that's more powerful than a guy who can literally do whatever the fuck he wants? Who can survive the universe and the timeline and everything being wiped out? How the fuck do you write something more powerful than that? Yeah, I don't know. How do you think Thrag would do against Kaido? I'm gonna be so honest. A part of me thinks that Thrag might, keyword might. You think the death battle with Green Lantern versus Ben was right? I hated the reasoning they used for Green Lantern, and Ben's watch literally didn't instantly transform him as soon as like the watch was gonna be removed. It just didn't do that. Like, they completely ignored the fact that the watch is going to do everything it can to keep Ben alive. It's disturbing. It is disturbing, so I would say that any of you who are already adults, have children, or plan on having children, please work on the child's education at home as well. It is so important. My girlfriend and I were talking about that if we ever did have kids, we have to read to them. I told him, I don't care. I'll fucking... It's not like, even if it's not... Like, I've been joking around about, like, the moment that they're fucking born, the moment that they can keep their eyes open for more than, like, 5 minutes, I'm putting a straw hat on them and I'm making them watch One Piece. But I told her straight up, like, I will read to our children. Like, I will sit down and I will, every day, and I will make sure that they understand how to read. So what were you going to say? I don't know. I kind of lost my path, my train of thought. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Think about it like this. In the United States, there is a system called No Child Left Behind. That means that children, in general, are not going to be held back in grade, even for their bad grades. Some would say that helps a child be able to move to move on to the next grade, to maintain friendships, all that kind of crap. There's probably some educational reason for that. But the problem with that line of logic is that if you move a child beyond them having the capacity and the ability to understand the material that was taught to them throughout an entire year, what this is going to cause is that then the child is going to be farther behind than every other kid that actually did pass and actually did put in the effort. So if you keep having a child from the ages 6 and up constantly move to the next stage of their education without fully understanding the parameters, without fully understanding math, without fully understanding media literacy, not media literacy, text-based literacy, etc., when they can't understand science, when they're having trouble keeping up, and they're just keep promoting them to the next grade, it creates a slow trickle-down effect. It creates a domino effect where now this kid is going to move on to the work life, it's going to move on to adulthood, and they're not going to have the capacity to fully function as an educated adult, and it's fucking terrible, dude. I don't know what scaling you have for Kaido, but if they're close enough to Kaido's future side, it should be able to make a difference now. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter how tough you think invincible characters are, One Piece characters, specifically Kaido, if he does have things like internal destruction, think about it like this. It's not just taking... Yeah, it's a competency crisis, yeah. I was talking about it with my therapist yesterday, and she was agreeing with me about the whole, like, you know, like, lack of literacy, lack of, like, this separation. The thing that's going to separate people in the future, the video I pulled up before actually does go on and talk about that. The thing that's going to help separate people in the future isn't just going to be money. It isn't just going to be some economic divide between different groups of people. What's going to define the difference between people are those that can and cannot read, those that can think critically, and those that cannot. We're currently living in a situation, multi-continental to planetary, so it's around where Kaido should be, and unless you believe that invincible characters reach those tens to thousands of times to hundreds of thousands of times past the light speed, probably I would put my money on Kaido. Like, when you asked me if Thrag versus Luffy or Thrag versus Kaido, I kind of view it from the perspective of, like, Thrag, I don't believe has an attack that can pierce through Luffy, even if he turns his hand into a blade, because, again, Luffy's hand and body does shape around what the attack hits him, right? Yeah, social media killed reading. As a kid, I used to struggle with reading, but I improved a lot by reading daily, to the point I could read 3 books a day. Correct. It's very important to read because it also helps improve your vernacular, your vocabulary. It helps expand what you already don't know, and it helps you improve your ability to be able to discern what an author or what someone is saying. I used to read books a lot as a kid. The other thing that's also very important is that you also have people who genuinely are resorting to using AI, ChatGPT, etc. to do all the work, and it's one of the things I told my girlfriend, I don't give a fuck, we're never going to let our kids use AI for anything because they need to be able to think critically. So many people, even in the power scaling community, will go out of their way to look up what Google says, will look up to type in something into ChatGPT and they'll use whatever answer ChatGPT gives them. But ChatGPT is simply going around based on what the most popular answers are on social media. And as I've said before, most people do not actually power scale well. Most people simply look at something on a very surface level point, and I think what's going to separate a lot of people is their ability to not only think critically, not only read, but be able to view things past what is being shown on the surface and look at things from a more in-depth standpoint. I'm going to be honest. This is why, like before, I said I'm not talking to swine when I time the guy out, because people like that again, they go into this whole thing, they go into this whole discussion. Well, why can't our arguments work and yours does, right? I don't have a reason to talk to you. You clearly operate at an extent where you're not trying to have a conversation. You're just trying to understand why I won't give your character the same grace when I am. It's just they don't scale as high when I do. Some parents have a lot to learn from you. It's not about learning as a parent. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like bringing a child into this world is something that you shouldn't do unless you are economically stable and if you're willing to put in the work to also be able to raise that child. I feel like a lot of people just have kids way too early, or they have kids to an extent where they kind of just put the kid off. Maybe, and listen, it's not entirely to put it on the parent as well, right? Sometimes they're in a tough situation where they have to work every single day and they have to basically put their kids off with like a daycare or at school, so they don't have the time or energy to do it. But it's like, if you want to have a kid, I'm going to be honest with you, you have to put in the time to also care about their education enough that, hey, listen, we're going to sit through and we're going to explain this math. We're going to work through this. We're going to work through that. You have to learn about the environment around you, and you have to notice the issues that the problems that other people have, and notice, is there anything that I can do to try to circumvent those issues? I appreciate that, guys. I do. Financial stability should be a big factor while planning about having a child. Exactly. If you're not in a financial... My girlfriend and I talked about this. Like, we probably won't have kids until, like, after we're married, after we've had a chance to enjoy our marriage, to enjoy, married life, to live together for a while and stuff like that. But it's also from the perspective of maybe until like our late 30s. I'm not in my 30s yet, but I'm like, I think it would be best to do it around that time because it gives us more time to spend time together, to have that time alone. And then when we do eventually have kids, it would be good to have it at a point in time where she and I know for a fact we can be truly financially responsible for anything that the kid might need. She wants to have multiple. I told her I'm good with a boy and a girl. If it's 2 boys, that's fine. If it's 2 girls, that's fine. I don't really care. And if they want to be whatever the fuck they want to be, that's also fine. I don't really care. But like, I don't know how I would feel about too many kids. I don't know how I feel about too many kids. Because to some extent, I don't know if my YouTube career does expand. I don't know how much money I could exactly make to maintain like 5 or 6 mouths. You know what I mean? Exactly, though. You have so much maturity compared to others. I've seen it. It may sound normal to say that people should take care of a child, but the number of people not understanding it. Yeah, no, it's literally another life. Like, if you want to have something close to a kid, but you don't want to have like all the responsibility behind it, get a fucking dog, dude. I don't know. No one in Asia or India is gonna agree with you. Sadly, grown-ups, that's fine. That's completely fine. It's not about people agreeing with me. Again, I've never had an issue with people disagreeing with me. It's just more so about if the logic just doesn't math. Like if the math doesn't math. You think that the grade and report cards reflect people's IQ to a T or not? No, it's not. Report cards and grades are essentially just a way to measure how well you can pay attention and how well you can retain information. I'm someone in school that, like, when I was growing up and when I was in middle school, high school, and even college, one of my college professors, especially for like a math class that I had to take, she looked at me and she was like, when she was asking me specifically at the time, we had like a program where like we had to essentially use a program where like it gave us a calculator to the side, it would give us a large math problem, and it would give us like a lot of avenues to solve it. And she came to me asking me, yo, so when you put in the answers into the calculator, you get the right answers, but you don't show any of your work. Why is that? And I told her, it's because I use the calculator itself to like type out the numbers, to like type out the equations like this, like for example, let me see, clear this up. So it's like 32.5 and then like this, 6 times 3, and then it's like, so you essentially, and it's all of it is divided by like 8 or something like that. This is a very rudimentary version of it, but actually it's a little bit more the math that we were doing is a little bit more complex with that, but it's like I would use the calculator itself to simply jot down the numbers that I would go through in my head, since I instead of using those math formulas, I like doing everything in my head, and then I just like using the calculator to plot down the values so I wouldn't forget the values, and then I would still get the right answer at the end, right? She eventually got to the point where she was like, you have a calculator inside your head, you just don't show the math, right? You just don't show the work. I think that teaching as a whole, especially when I was trying to become a teacher, I thought that one of the things that a teacher should try to do is create a curriculum that is both interesting and exciting for a kid to learn, where the techniques can be flexible enough for all kids to learn. But a lot of the math that my sister, who is a teacher, has shown me is that a lot of like the metrics and rules for, or a lot of the how-tos, right? The structured formats for how to solve certain equations, especially like in lower end math for like kids upwards of like 6 to 10 to 11 years old. It's a lot more complex than the shit that we learned as a kid, and I personally don't care about that version of math learning. She works at a charter school, so she has to use the school's curriculum. She can't make her own, technically. It's one of those cases where it's like I feels like they're trying to overcomplicate something that shouldn't be too difficult, and they also punish kids for essentially being able to do it. Now, I understand the idea of having to show your work to show that you understand how to get the thought process done, but sometimes certain ways of solving things don't interact well with other people. So I always told myself, if my kid ever struggles with that kind of stuff, I would try to find a way to help them specifically understand the math, the science, the social studies, or whatever, to be able to retain the information. Ultimately, if you're good at if you understand the work, but you also struggle to take examinations, tests, etc., that can also affect your entire school career. So there's a lot of factors that go into learning that I feel like, because we don't have because we're not putting in the necessary amount of money to allow these teachers to not have to spend their own personal money to give the kids the tools that they need, because schools are not allowing children to have the capacity to because schools do not allow the teachers to teach proper grammar, to teach conjugations, to teach all of the necessary tools that they need. It's like they're basically trying to dumb people down. I don't know about the rest of the world, but in my high school, you're required to explain your thought process in a test. Gotcha. Aren't Nalagen only aliens that are comparable to Alien X? Can you show the statement? I don't know which episode or whatever. I know that I saw it once in the series. I cannot tell you. I cannot sit here and tell you what episode or what thing. I don't remember if it was in Ultimate Alien. I don't know if it was in Omniverse that the statement came in, but I know for a fact that there was a statement. There is an alien in Ben's watch stronger than Alien X. Yeah. It was confirmed, so apparently Alien X isn't the strongest alien in the Omnitrix. What can be stronger than an alien that can make and destroy universes? Alien X is the strongest alien. What, it told you that? It was a YouTube video about how strong Alien X is, and they said that it was confirmed by the creators that at least 3 aliens in the Omnitrix are stronger than Alien X. Ben hasn't unlocked them yet, obviously. Oh, it's with Kuro the artist. Right. So it was with Kuro the artist. I don't think I can platform Seth. But anyway. Funny, I had a childhood friend who became a dad at 13, and he stepped up as a literal child himself, and he takes great care of his daughter. That's lovely. That's the stuff that we like to hear. Radiance is a literal god of light. Her attacks are light. The night, dodging them without the shade cloak makes it FTL. Yeah. Actually, using your brain feels nice. Genuinely clears the fog. Explaining your thought process, I feel like, is more important than whether or not you're able to follow through with an explanation that somebody gave that you might not like. Epstein, Escobar, and Dahmer. That's crazy. That is crazy. Is guys takes in the chat? That is a crazy ass video title. Hornet tanks. Okay, you guys are talking about something else. Who is Seth the Programmer? He's one of the bigger power scalers that came up around. He's one of the people that essentially came up around the same time as Swag Kage. Him and Swag were like the big 2 names for the Naruto scaling community back in like the late 2010s to early 2020s. It's one of those cases, right? It's one of those cases where like Seth and Swag were kind of known as like a duo for YouTube. Like they had their own channels and they would make their own content and they would like collab and all the time, but Essentially, it came out that Seth was essentially talking to a minor at the time. He apparently did not like swag. They got into a whole big debacle, but then they're cool now or some shit. I don't know. It's not my personal business. I don't know what they're doing. I kind of know. I checked out a couple of Seth's videos in the past, but I don't know if I should platform them on my channel. All things considering, just because of all the controversies. But yeah, it's just one of those old guys. Oh, no videos yet? Let's pull it up so we can get it some views. We gotta support. We gotta support friends of the channel. You know what I'm saying? Not only for power scaling, but literally for everything else. Politics is the same way. You can have one person arguing Goku can beat Ippo from Hajime no Ippo, and another person arguing Ippo will win, and the centrists believe that they must be evenly matched, and one wins some categories, whether the other wins in some other categories. You have to do the hard work and do the research yourself, or at least listen to the different people arguing for their side to actually form an objective opinion. Dean Withers is okay, but I would recommend you check out a Majority Report or Secular Talks. Similar, since you watch Asmongold's takes, look up the counter arguments someone like Hassan makes. He's not my favorite political streamer, but you might as well see what counter arguments to what Asmongold is saying, and then you can decide what you think more reasonably and be more reasonable and honest. I agree with this. Dragno makes a very good point. Brightburn, isn't that like Superman, but like if Superman were to go crazy or some shit? He was also a horrible person to his friend and editor Clyde. Yeah, and then Clyde also forgave him, so I don't know what's up. Became a born-again Christian after the whole thing and buried the hatchet with the people that were against him, if I remember correctly. I mean, good for him then. That's lovely for him. If he found religion and that helps him out, that's all cool with me. Oh no, Elian, on the school topic, I argue public schools intentionally dumb students down. They do it, well, that's cool. Let's check out this video. Have you seen Sentry vs Superman 1 Million yet? I have not. I argue that they are intentionally dumbing down kids. They do it to ensure that their promises get them votes, and it turns keeps them elected. Wanted to ping you. No, you're fine. You're fine.
We're going to be talking about the absolute absurdity of villains.
There was a teacher talking about that my girlfriend sent from TikTok. He went on like a 5-minute rant. I didn't know TikTok videos could go that long. He went on like a 5 to like 8-minute rant on like this whole conversation about like how he as a teacher is not allowed to teach proper English to his students, and it's completely fucked. Mind you, we're talking about a teacher in America. That shit's crazy. Yeah, that's right. He's flawed. How flawed you think it is to argue Brightburn is as strong as Superman because he's a Superman variant? Superman variants all being a Superman variant, like an actual variant, or like he is a character that holds the very similar abilities to Superman, right? Like, is he an alien? Is he an actual Kryptonian? Like, what's the thing, right? What's this whole thing? I don't know who Brightburn actually is. Buggy is played off as a joke, but bro destroyed an entire town and executed people with cannon fire. Yeah.
In One Piece, and how the upbeat vibe of the show and these goofy designs mask some of the darkest writing in anime. To make things really hit home, I recommend putting yourselves in the shoes of the victims. One of the best examples of this has to be Caesar Clown. He's a really interesting character because of how his role in the story evolved after the Punk Hazard arc. He was the first major post-time skip villain, but the Straw Hats eventually capture him and he basically becomes...
I would disagree with him saying he was the first post-time skip villain only because of Horty Jones. That's like that's the most minor of nitpicks.
A running gag on the ship, making funny faces and getting bullied by the whole crew. Even the fan base started treating him like a harmless, funny mascot. Heck, I'm making this video and I'm still waiting for the glorious return of the sworn brother of Peggy, Gangster Gastino. But when you look at his act...
Gangster Gastino is one of the greatest characters ever written by Oda, and if anyone disagrees with me, you're just a fucking idiot. Like, I'm sorry. Gangster Gastino is one of the greatest fucking guys of all time. He was so powerful. He could have one-shotted Kaido if he wanted to. Gangster Gastino is honestly, I would dare say, hot take, Gangster Gastino would go band for band with God D. Usopp. I'm sorry. He would go band for band with God D. Usopp. I'm sorry. Like, if you're an honest idiot if you don't think the Gangster Gastino is more powerful than the Yonko. He just wants to live a normal life with women and alcohol and drugs, and I think that's completely fine considering a character of his power level. I'm just saying.
Actions on Punk Hazard and recall the shit ton of damage he's
People are
done,
using this to
things
argue that
start
he
to get a
destroys
little
guys like
less
Homelander and
goofy.
even Omni-Man,
For starters,
which is
he
the
was
best
kidnapping
feats are
children
destroying
from the
buildings.
nearby islands, locking them in a giant freezer.
I mean, didn't Omni-Man, like, hold an entire fucking... That's a cold take? Nah, I've been getting a lot of pushback on it. Thank goodness Agenda Peace was created, yeah. So, is a Superman clone not a literal clone? He's just a character as if Superman was evil and not related to DC? So then you have to, so then you can't base him off of how strong Superman is. You would have to base him off of his own feats. Eon, would he beat Sukuna though? Nah, Sukuna one-shots the One Piece first. He's got the world-cutting slash. It even cuts elements. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And it cuts elements, and it cuts Logias, and it cuts the soul, and it cuts existence itself, and it cuts everything. It says it right there in the panel. You can't see it because you can't pick up on it.
And feeding them highly addictive, laced candy just to see if he could turn them into giant soldiers. It got so bad that they couldn't
True
even
King?
go a day without having
sorry,
that
man.
candy. And if
I don't know
they
about
did,
that.
they would experience crazy withdrawal symptoms.
What do you think of the guy whose corpse became the Osteropath? I feel bad for anyone whose body, whose genetics fucked them over so bad, whose mom and dad must have looked like literal fucking thumbs. Because how do you, my brother in Christ, how do you get a build like that? How does your body physically shaped out to the point where you literally do not have a neck? You are just a head attached to a fucking torso. I don't know, man.
Worse than some of the most
Dude
dangerous
actually does not
substances
have a
in the
neck.
real world. And if that wasn't bad enough, these kids and their parents
It
were
does.
lied to.
What do you think I'm
They
making
were
these
told
points?
the children were sick, making the kids believe they actually needed Caesar's help to stay alive. The most diabolical part is, because he has zero regard for human life and is way less of a genius than Vegapunk, his experiment was eventually going to ice them anyway because of all the damage it did to their bodies. Caesar's cruelty extended to his own loyal men as well. 4 years before the Straw Hats arrived, he caused a massive chemical disaster that ruined Punk Hazard and killed hundreds of people. He then turned around and lied to the survivors, making them believe he was their savior who gave them prosthetic legs and a place to live. In reality, he didn't care about them at all. There's a whole lot more we could say about this gas man, but for now, let's move on to his boss. The pinnacle of evil,
Yeah.
Don Quixote del Flamingo,
Yeah.
aka
I know what he looks like.
Joker. When it comes to Dressrosa, we see another villain with a completely absurd design who is secretly more of a monster than the world knows. Doflamingo is
Gotcha.
easily one of the most popular villains, and as a pirate, he was already known to be a cruel man. But what the
I mean, but arguing that he's a Superman clone can't you just say the same thing for like Homelander or fucking Omni-Man? Like they are also Superman clone? Yeah, but Omni-Man only wipes out like a country or whatever. He only wipes out, or he only like wipes out like a small planet, or like Homelander only destroys buildings, etc. It's like, cool. Yeah, so if we're basing their scaling off of their feats, let's base off Brightbird scaling off of his feats. How about that? You know, it's just one of those cases.
world didn't know was how deep his cruelty actually was. His rule over Dressrosa was something out of a psychological horror story. It was like Severance, but worse in many ways. Takeovers and kingdoms are very common in fiction and very much so in real life, but the way Doffy did it was mental, to say the least. He used his parasite string to hijack the minds of the sitting king and his soldiers, forcing them to violently attack their own citizens in an attempt to make the people believe their beloved king had gone mad. Doflamingo would then sweep in, defeat these villains, and look like a hero. Once he was in power, he used his subordinate Sugar's hobby fruit to turn his enemies, innocent citizens, and anyone who spoke against him in the slightest into living toys. This power is so broken that the moment you're turned into a toy, everyone who ever loved you completely forgets you existed. You would still remember them, but you would have to follow every single order given to you by Sugar. In the criminal underworld, he is known as Joker, an underground broker who sells high-grade weapons and artificial devil fruits made by the gas man we talked about earlier. These weapons keep wars going while lining Doffy's pockets, and the fruits he shipped to Pirate Emperor Kaido had a 90% chance of making anyone unable to express any other emotion than joy, even if they were dying inside. That's
The best he's saying is the implication of him moving a planet which can't be proven. Got it. Shortest retirement? It's not retirement. I just needed to cool off after the last couple of days, and I decided that if anyone's going to come at me with any kind of a disingenuous... As soon as I notice that a person's going to be coming in from a disingenuous perspective, it's just the conversation's over. I'm not doing it. Like...
why he came up with the twisted name Smile. Think of it as having a mouth. but not being able to scream. Luffy was born a celestial dragon, a bona fide god. So being kicked out at an early age and having everyone hate you and dread your existence molded him into a shell of pure hatred for everything and everyone, making him want nothing more than to see the world burn. On the complete opposite side of the world, Orochi was born as scum. His clan was hated, ridiculed, and driven to poverty for the atrocities of their ancestors. This made Orochi hate Wano itself, vowing to put the entire country under his heel. Orochi is truly evil. He is also a coward and a snake, which is a pretty common trait in the Kurozumi clan. Some people might argue that his pain came from a place of reason, seeing as his clan was persecuted and slaughtered for the sins of one person. But regardless of his past, Orochi is still widely seen as the most vile and disgusting.
And I did, and while I got somewhere with one guy, another one outright says the difference is Brightburn is a Superman variant, you child. Irrelevant debating tactics is all you possess to me. That's crazy. I mean, they're just not worth talking with then. You just ignore them, you just say, okay, believe whatever you want to believe.
Person in the entire story. What he did to the people of Wano is easily some of the most tragic stuff we've seen so far. Under his rule, he turned the beautiful land of Wano into a polluted, starving wasteland of weapon factories, keeping all the clean food and water for himself in the flower capital. If a citizen even looked at him wrong, he threw them into Udon prison and forced them into hard labor. The weapon production polluted the water supply, poisoning the citizens and potentially killing children. But his worst act of cruelty was what he did to the poor people of Ebisu Town. After those artificial devil fruits failed, Orochi took the leftover smile fruits and mixed them into the food supply of the starving peasants. It was almost like fate aligned for him. He starved this town for so long that anything remotely edible was a reason for celebration. So when these defective fruits come in, instead of throwing them away, he gave them to the town of leftovers, which is the nickname for the starving town of Ebisu.
No.
The failed fruits make you lose your ability to express any emotion other than laughter, and you cannot look angry even if you wanted to. His end goal, though, was to obliterate Wano as a whole to avenge the pain they caused him and his clan. And just like Doflamingo, the queen of Toto Land has a life rooted in some deeply disturbing events. On the surface, her territory of Toto Land looks like a Disney movie. There are houses made of chocolate, rivers of juice, and talking flowers and trees that sing about how happy everyone is. But the reality of her kingdom is incredibly twisted.
That's crazy.
To live in Linlin's, aka Big Mom's peaceful land, every citizen has to pay a life tax. Every 6 months, Big Mom's subordinates use her soul fruit to extract a portion of the citizens' lifespans. If you want to live under her protection, you have to literally give away portions of your life. And the funny thing is, you still aren't totally protected. If Linlin were to happen to go on one of her famous eating tantrums, she completely loses her mind and destroys her own cities in fits of rage. You might even get your entire lifespan ripped out of you. Her backstory, though, is probably the most disturbing thing that Oda has ever written, and that's saying something. When she was a child, her adoptive mother, Mother Carmel, threw her a birthday party with tons of sweet treats. Linlin was so overwhelmed that she entered a food trance, which made her eat everything in sight. When she finally snapped out of her trance, the treats, Mother Carmel, and her orphan siblings were nowhere to be found. Personally, I didn't even understand what happened at first. I actually caught up with the manga at the beginning of Wano without fully realizing it. It was only when I later rewatched the anime that I realized that this insane monstrosity of a woman ate her entire adoptive family alive without even realizing it. The contrast of this horrific act of cannibalism being wrapped in a colorful, sweet birthday party theme is honestly the prime example of how dark One Piece can get. This contrast between goofy designs, upbeat vibes, and horrific actions is really what makes One Piece villains so memorable.
Yeah.
Oda doesn't need his bad guys to just look cool or brooding to make them scary. In fact, making them look ridiculous makes you lower your guard, which makes the emotional payoff when Luffy finally defeats them all the more satisfying. Luffy's fist isn't just beating up a bad guy, it's shattering a really big, colorful lie. I do have a ton of other villains I'd love to discuss as well, as most One Piece villains are actually terrifying, but I think I'm done talking about these ones for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to support the channel, please consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribing. If you want to watch some matchups I did in the past, you can click any of the videos.
Alright. That was pretty good. Guy, if you end up checking this out later, pretty good stuff, man. Pretty good stuff. I like how you only focused on a couple of villains to not like stretch it out too long. I think it was pretty good. And the funny thing about Big Mom eating Mother Caramel is that she would have been, she wouldn't be a freed person if she didn't. Yeah, she was gonna turn her into the Marines. If you are watching videos of Dark Reality of One Piece, I'm not gonna watch a lot of videos. I was actually just gonna check this one out right here. Why I refuse to watch One Piece. Sorry, I'm gonna check this out. I'm gonna check out the Brightburn stuff, and I'm probably just gonna start heading out.
Would not be watching the Invincible animated series. Stop asking.
As you guys know, I just finished reading all the comics. Look at that LARPer comic collection.
And while I did like the comic, I still thought that there were many things to criticize about it, and I had many critiques, which led to a lot of people bringing up the show, saying, oh, well, the show will fix some things from the comic. And I just gotta be honest with you guys, I can't watch the show because my loyalty is to the comic book medium. I love comic books. Like, I still haven't even started The Boys because I'm still trying to catch up on all the comics. But one of the reasons I don't want to watch the show is the animation just looks so bad. It is just so devoid.
Why does the animation look bad? It doesn't, like, is it just a lack of shadows? I never understand what people say about, like, the animation looks bad. Do I think it's, like, the best animation I've ever seen? Absolutely not. I could definitely imagine that there are a lot of, like, moments, especially... I noticed that, like, at least in the latest season after I watched it, that there were moments where, like, they were just doing, like, PNGs of the characters, like, moving from one end of the screen to the other. Where, like, Invincible's flying through space, and it's basically just a PNG of him flying, but, like, they're making him smaller. Like, yeah, I mean, you're not gonna get Mappa or Toye. I'm debating going to the movies, but it's raining hard as fuck. It's hot as fuck where I'm at, dude. Animation sometimes looks simply like PNG. Yeah, sometimes. If the whole thing's like that, and then I think it's a problem, but not the whole thing's like that. Eats people when they get turned into candy. Big Mom ate her family just because she was hungry.
There's no depth or real emotion to the characters' faces. I do not like it. The comic has so much emotion to it, like the characters' faces matter, especially when you get to like Compendium 2. Art is so much more dynamic.
I'm gonna be so honest, I don't care for the Invincible art style in the comics. I don't care for it. It's not bad though, yeah. Hey, how's it going, Pedge? I don't care for the Invincible comic book art style. I don't care for it personally.
And better. So it's like, why would I give myself a less pleasurable viewing experience when I've
is bad, but for what it should be in comparison to other series, it's not what comic fans were hoping, but that's why it's bad. Yeah, it's people essentially having their expectations not being met, and if your expectations aren't met, I mean, you have right to complain. You can be upset by it. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah, it's pretty decent. I would say 6.5 is not... Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, like, oh, look at that, this is dog shit. Look at the size of his hands. Why is his head so small? Oh, my God. I don't personally like Omni-Man's design in the comics. I don't like the big mustache that he gets. I do prefer the animated design. But, I mean, again, you know, if you're gonna complain about this, I think you're completely fine. I was debating Brightburn. It was a short video made by someone called Denko about Oliver versus Brightburn about a week ago. Gotcha.
Already read the book. But the main reason, and this is one a lot of you guys won't even expect, I don't want to hear these characters.
They wanted the comic book art style because they said that the show's art style was too soft and baby-like. Okay, and that's their fucking problem. Yep, then complain about that. I don't know. I don't personally give a shit. Like, I didn't watch the comics. I didn't watch the comics. I like this art style. It's fine. You can complain about it, though. Anyone can complain. I'm not saying you guys. I'm just saying in general. Anyone is allowed to complain about it. I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, oh, hey, just shut up. Like, if you're upset by it, you're upset by it. That's your thing.
Reason, and this is one a lot of you guys won't even expect, I don't want to hear.
You think the designs are? I disagree. I like Omni-Man's design more in the anime than more in the animation than in the series than I do in the comics. I don't like Omni-Man's design in the comics.
Voiced. And this is where I'm gonna get a little bit gatekeepy. Comics are just a better medium, and
they could definitely do better. 100%. If you think that they could do better, I think that's completely reasonable. If you think that more work could have been put in, I think that's a reasonable claim. I think that's a reasonable take. Like, honestly. It's like how I feel with like certain parts in One Piece where like, or like even like Black Clover, where it's like they could have done better than what they gave Black Clover in all honesty. Right? Like, I haven't really watched the Black Clover anime in a while, but like I know that there are some like screenshots where I'm just like, wow, this really does look rough. Which mangaka glazes their character more? Itagaki and Yujiro Hanma, or Gege and Sukuna? Yujiro Hanma gets glazed for whatever the fuck. I'm gonna be honest with you. With like Sukuna, just like this whole narrative thing of like him really just being the tippity top dog.
It takes more engagement from the reader than movies do. Take Alan, for example. He's one of my favorite characters.
He'll turn something like rock, paper, scissors into a whole fucking bullshit situation. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Hearing his voice in my head is so much better than hearing an actor voice him.
Oh, you don't like fucking Seth Rogen voicing Alan the Alien? Well, I don't see Alan the Alien being a guy without Seth Rogen's fucking voice.
Because he's an alien. I don't want to hear a human voice him. That's what's so beautiful.
Bro, I don't want to hear a human voice and so how the fuck do we then so then why want an animation? Why want an animation then? That like okay, that's what like okay, that's a complaint where I'm gonna say, what the fuck are you expecting for an animation then? You expect them to find an actual alien? You expect them to not be Seth Rogen? I mean, if you don't want it to be Seth Rogen, that's completely fine. I think it's reasonable to say maybe they could have gotten another voice actor for this character. I think that's entirely reasonable, entirely justifiable. But to say I don't want a human voicing this alien, I'm sorry, dude. How the fuck you want AI to voice it? What the fuck do you want, bro?
Beautiful about this medium, you actually have a better connection to the characters because it's literally taking place in your head.
I disagree with that. I don't ever, whenever I read or watch a series, like if I'm reading through the Shinjuku Showdown if I'm reading through like the Shinjuku Showdown for JJK, everyone but like Higuruma, I'm essentially imagining their voices. Everyone whose voice I've already heard once in the anime, like I imagine them talking. I imagine Yuta's vernacular. I imagine Yuta's speech pattern when I'm hearing this fucking thing right here. I don't know what Hakari sounds like, so in him, I just hear my own fucking voice talking to this guy. Same with this guy, but like Kenjaku, he did it again. I imagine Kenjaku's voice when I'm hearing this guy. That's why he's saying comics are superior medium. I'm not saying that I agree with him. I mean, comics definitely. I don't agree with like comics or manga in general being a superior medium. I don't know, because like it all essentially devolves into how you choose to view it or how you choose to, how you take in the media, right? If it affects, if a certain voice actor or a certain way that they're voicing a character or a certain way that the character might sound in your head, if that affects your enjoyment of something, I think it's fine. I think it's reasonable. But to say that a version of media is better than another, I don't know about that. I like reading manga specifically because, for example, it's like saying that that like books, like regular novels, it's like saying that like let's say novels, right? Novels. It's like saying that like a novel, a book with just words in it, is a better form of media or is a superior media to manga. I would argue the opposite, because at least with manga, I don't have to sit here and read an entire paragraph about how this cannon looks like a fucking lobster. He picks up a bolstering red. He picks up and bolsters a red cannon shaped like a lobster with a large gaping hole where the barrel sits in, a large gaping hole where the mouth of the lobster should be. And as he blasts directly, a giant puff of smoke. Like, I don't want to read all that shit. Just show me what the character does and just give me what their voice work is, right? But no, some people will say that an explanation of what is happening can essentially paint a better picture for your head, right? So I can't say that manga is a better medium or a superior medium to a book, right? To a regular novel, because ultimately it just comes down to personal preference. It all just comes down to preference. Yeah, I think he's exaggerating a little bit, but hey, listen, that's his thing, that's fine.
When I hear Oliver talk, I can make up his voice.
I'm Kid Omni-Man, first solo adventure.
Why would I want somebody to narrate that for me? That takes so much out of the experience. Hell, that's probably
for
why
you.
A lot of y'all...
It takes a lot of the experience for you, and that's okay. I imagine whichever VA thing fits the characters best when reading. Yeah, like it's gonna depend on from person to person. Some people are gonna make their own voices. Some people are gonna say something crazy, right? Like, it's fine. Maybe you wanted the added effects of the voice. I don't know, honestly, but it's either rage bait or weird complaint. It's a weird complaint. It's just a weird complaint. And here's the thing: you can have complaints over anything. Anyone can complain about anything they honestly want. It's more so just how much energy you're gonna put into that complaint.
Can't think for yourself, can't have an original opinion, and you just have low IQs overall, because instead of reading comic books where you're in control of the narrative, you're hearing it in your head, you're just having it force-fed into you by movies or video games where they're just screaming it to you. You're not actually having to decode any of the plot. And the few of y'all who do read comics,
that's not true. You can decode the plot if you're still watching it. You don't need to have the words in your face in order to sit there and say, did the NT Hammer just drop the Luffy vs. Naruto video? Sure. I can check that out.
Read them. You just pull a soups and watch a comic.
Because I don't have the mental creativity.
For you. Which is still completely taking away the point of comic books and just literature as a whole. You're supposed to read it. You're supposed to read it in your head. Real quick, I want you to take a second, read this comic book page in your head. It was written by Grant Morrison. Read it in your head. This page has so much more impact, so much more meaning, and shows the medium of comic books when you read it than if somebody else reads it to you. Comics are like a form of telekinesis. Somebody's words are they're speaking to you through your brain.
I think that's a very interesting way of considering it, but I don't personally agree. Luffy versus Naruto explained Jesus Christ is a 30-minute video. I'll watch that.
Oh, this one isn't gonna make anyone happy, but I'm bored, so let's sow some discourse. Naruto versus Luffy is one of the most prolific anime arguments in the entirety of the anime space. And considering the fact that relatively recently, both universes have given both Naruto and Luffy significant upgrades, the discourse is as alive as it's ever been. And that's the kind of thing that's gonna happen when you have two of the most legendary anime running simultaneously for over 2 decades. People are gonna begin to wonder, who wins this fight, Naruto or Luffy? And since both universes haven't really done all that much to differentiate themselves from each other from a power scaling perspective,
alright, let's just
flame
skip ahead.
has reignited with the unveiling of Luffy's Gear 5 and Naruto's Baryon mode, which are presumably both of their final evolutions. And
bro, it's been like 2 years, it's been like 3 years since Gear 5 came out, bro. Real talk, it's been like 3 years. What, 1 hour already, 2,000 views. God, I gotta get to this guy's point. I feel like if I just have very basic takes, I feel like I'll get like a lot more views or a lot more subscribers. By this logic, wouldn't then books be a superior medium compared to comics because you are force-fed less? Yeah, by his logic, it should be a better form of medium.
while they may not be their final evolutions, for the purposes of today's video, those are the iterations of these characters we're going to be talking about. See, because, well, yes, currently Naruto's floating in the Daikoku 10 with no access to Kurama and definitely no access to Baryon mode. We're not going to be talking about Naruto or Luffy at anything less than their peaks. And thus for Naruto, that means we're going to be talking about Naruto with access to the entirety of Kurama and access to, in emergency situations, Baryon mode. And for Luffy, we're going to be talking about awakened Devil Fruit user Gear 5 Luffy. Joy Boy, Nika, whatever you want to call him. Oh, but how are you going to take Baryon mode into account when Naruto can only use it once and only for a couple of minutes? Well, let's not sit here and act like Luffy's able to use Gear 5 forever, and also, I'm taking that into account. So, with our participants now established, who wins? Well, before we dive into the battle, let's establish the level of combatants we're talking about here, and properly scale out with backed up and corroborated feats just how strong
Hey, John.
Gear 5 Luffy.
Luffy is slug tier. I win, you lose. JK, I love you. I appreciate it, man. Guys, can we get some W's for John for becoming a member? Thank you. I think you should. I think you already have access to the main Discord, right? It should be fine. How you been, John? How you been, John?
And adult Naruto are. And out of respect for Luffy, as he comes from the longer-running manga, let's do him first. Now, there are legitimately a million feats that we could get into with Luffy. I can talk about his fight against Doflamingo. I can talk about his fight against Katakuri. I can talk about his fight with an awakened Lucci, and...
Thanks for the nice comment/exchange. Yeah, no worries about it, man. I don't try to hold any conversations that I have in chat, like, against any people. You think people who equalize are just newbies in scaling? No, I think it just makes things easier for them. When you equalize versus, it just makes things easier, but also more complicated. I view it from the perspective of, I don't want to think about it too hard. Let's just give the characters everything and just have them go at it. I just view it from that perspective. If that's me, if it makes it easier for you, or if it makes the fight more exciting or whatever, I think it's fine. I don't really care. It's up to personal preference whether or not you want to verse equalize. I personally think it kind of complicates things if you have to start, because when you start going into like a couple of more pedantic or in-depth things, it starts to become more about like, well, so if you equalize chakra versus hockey, for example, does that mean that devil fruits are now sage energy, nature energy, like which is which? Like you have to kind of equalize that. Then you have to ask yourself, well, okay, so if a jutsu is too weak, or if it's from a character that is arguably weak enough, does that mean that Conqueror's Haki just outright cancel it out? It just brings up a lot more, and I'm going to say this, it brings up a lot more headcanon into the discussion. It's less about the beat him and more about the skill of the artist and its used proper, and to use its strength properly. You know, just hold chat against me since I need to try and hip thrust his weight.
So many other people. But really, when it comes down to it, in order to understand just how powerful Gear 5 Luffy is, we have to talk about his most impressive fights. That is to say that we can only really talk about the fights that Luffy took on that nobody else could. Like his battles against Kaido, or Saturn, or Kizaru. And thus we're really focusing on the end of Wano, Egghead Island, and like maybe a little...
Oh, it froze. It froze completely. What the fuck? I don't think I have too many things open. Weird. Close that up.
A bit of Hellbound. And amongst all of those arcs, probably the most impressive attack we've seen from Luffy.
I left the server mostly because I was way too invested and worked up late on work, but because I was obsessing, but I might rejoin later. I have also actually been reading One Piece. Good for you, man. I really like it. Skypiea arc is genuinely really, really cool. I'm happy you're enjoying it. A lot of people don't really like Skypiea. I guess it like just takes too much time for like things to build up, but I'm happy you're enjoying it, dude. I really am.
Is the Bajrank gun he launches against Kaido. See, it's pretty much a widely accepted consensus that this is the strongest move we've ever seen Luffy pull. Not only because it was big, but because of who it beat. And that person it beat was Kaido, a man who ruled over Wano, a place that makes the strongest fighters in the world for decades. I mean, he built an army of ancient Zoan monsters, subservient to him. He clashed with Big Mom. He was an important member of the Rock's Pirates. He fought the Scabbards, the worst generations. He clashed with Yamato. And while he was doing the majority of his important fighting over the course of Wano, he was still passively floating Onigashima in the air with his clouds. Now listen, pulling off island-level feats is kind of standard for the Yonko. A Whitebeard with literally 1 foot in the grave was said to be able to sink all of Marineford with his Quake fruit. And with the power of the Quake fruit, it was stated that Whitebeard had the ability to destroy the world, which is something One Piece scalers will never let you forget. But Kaido was a man
I need to motivate it again for the series a lot, so thanks. I'm happy that you're enjoying it, man. I'm happy that you got into it, and I'm happy we can still have a conversation.
Form, Luffy was able to downspike Kaido like Mario while he was in his dragon form, which is a stronger form. Well, if not his human dragon form, which is his strongest form, we're still talking about Luffy taking on a stronger form of the strongest creature on Earth. And like, here's the thing, Bajrangan wasn't just a threat to Kaido, it was a threat to Onigashima, as Momonosuke believed that if Luffy landed the Bajrangan wrong, he would destroy Onigashima.
Chat, let me ask you a question real quick. I haven't seen the video. Let me put it up. Do you think he'll say that Luffy is island level / ignore Chinjiao feat? You guys think he'll ignore it or not?
Which, you know, obviously is at least an island level.
Whatever Massive Blast Orb thing, I feel like I would face roll most of the War Arc Shinobi Alliance, to be honest. It would not most. The entirety of the Shinobi War Arc would be done for. I don't think that there is literally any character in the War Arc, unless you throw in the Hokage themselves, that can stop that blast. I'm gonna be honest. I really don't think.
But in response to the
Okay. Pej, listen. I'm not the biggest fan of NC Hammer. I think the guy usually makes some pretty disingenuous arguments. Please don't insult the guy. Please don't insult the guy. We're not that kind of community. This guy said Hashirama's planetary because he fought, he knows nothing about scaling. That's fine. He's allowed to believe that. Yes, he compared Onigashima to an island. I haven't seen this either, but I know his takes. He's the standard guy, so yeah. I don't think he knows about Don Chinjiao. Okay, do you have a roadmap in mind? What do you want on what you want to work after Naruto versus Luffy? Definitely gonna do some Elden Ring scaling. Not Elden Ring. Not Elden Ring. I did want to do some Expedition 33. I don't know what the full roadmap is yet. I'll tell you how I feel after. How about that? I'm not someone who thinks too far ahead. I think about what is precisely ahead of me right now because I need to be able to work on it.
Dragon, a fire coating of armor so hot that Luffy
have a good one,
can't
Marcos.
punch through
Hope
with
you're
an incredibly advanced hockey.
You probably will not get over the Don Chinjiao feats because most scalers who scale Luffy incorrectly tend to gloss over it. Yeah.
Luffy still pushes through, and that's something that we have to take into account here. Hockey, something that, mind you, I'm not going to forget, but that we'll talk about in Luffy's hacks section. But by using Conqueror's Hockey and Ornament Hockey, Luffy was essentially able to overpower one of the greatest hockey users in all of One Piece in a hockey clash. So what does this mean for Luffy's AP? Is it island level? Well, at least. See, this was, after all, Luffy's first time using Gear 5. And in that first time, or at least first fight, he uses Gear.
I just read the scene where the Aizamer dude freezes the ocean. He says he created a continent of ice, so yeah, he does. In Long Ring Long, towards the end of it, yeah. So he freezes it, it's frozen, this is Devil Brew Power, this will hold for a week, you can take a leisurely walk, to meet up with your village, it'll get cold, so make sure you bundle up. The sea turned into a continent of ice, they share you can cross the ocean. Yeah, he did this casually. And he's able to fight someone like Whitebeard that's stated to destroy the world, so do with that information what you will. Although, I do want to bring up one piece of evidence that I think that most people don't consider when talking about this. So, Tanjit lives on these islands, right? Every year, when the tide is low and only a few hours, the island reveals into a giant shape. Once every 3 years, we migrate from one island to another, right? So he's been up there for 10 years, so 1, 2, 3. When the entire village left, 3 years. When the entire village left, 3 years. When the entire village left, 3 years. So they should be on this end right here. Aokiji freezing the ocean didn't just mean that he froze this one right here from one island to the other. He basically froze 1, 2, 3 oceans in order to get to the fourth one right here. In other words, he froze all of this area of water in a single flash freeze instant, which is why they call it a continent. Isn't much of a power scaler. For a long time, he flat out refused to do power scaling until he ran out of content. Yeah. That he got into answers downscales. How was that fair? I mean, it was island level way back in Dressrosa. Oh, yeah, got you. So yeah, he freezes a lot of that.
A couple of different times over the course of his fight against Kaido, but in his first fight using Gear...
The only thing I have to go off of is that he froze the ocean itself into a continent of ice. I'm going to say that he is at the very least within that range at that point, but considering that he's capable of fighting Whitebeard, he is capable of fighting Yonko, even if I don't think he can win, Whitebeard is the only thing of Whitebeard that we have to go off of is him having the capacity to create earthquakes across the world, and also having a direct statement that says he has the power to destroy it. Whether or not you think that means society or whatever, that's up to you.
For 5, he was able to overpower somebody who at that moment in time had a legitimate claim as the strongest Yonko on Earth. We do not know how Shanks scaled in comparison to Kaido. Unless his feat is less about the fact that Luffy could have destroyed Onigashima and the fact that he did destroy Kaido, who's very consistently scaled to either country or continent level. I mean, after all, he was able to passively float an entire island, and if you drop an entire island on a country, well, it's gonna wipe out the country. In fact, you drop that island from high enough, it could wipe out a whole continent. Now, if you foray over into Egghead Island, maybe even Elbaf, we've seen Luffy use Gear 5 basically every chance he's been given. I want to note here that I am 15 chapters behind in One Piece currently, so if Luffy is punched straight through Emu, I'm sorry. But anyways, if we take Egghead Island...
He probably saw the
Luffy's got
screenshot.
some pretty ludicrous feats. Most of them that focus around either him manhandling Saturn and Kizaru simultaneously, or throwing attacks that land meaningful damage on the 5 Elders. And while, on account of the fact that Luffy has been trained on how to actually meaningfully injure the 5 Elders, the 5 Elders all recover from any and all attacks launched at them by Luffy.
Thank you,
what is being
Ashlow.
established here is that Luffy has the attack potency and the speed to take on the 5 Elders, just not the hacks. And as the 5 Elders are obviously positioned at a strength level above the Yonko, and presumably above the Royal Knights. Royal Knights who included people like King Harold, who was able to go toe-to-toe with people like Rock the Zebek, who was considered one of the strongest pirates of all time. It stands to reason that if we're saying Yonko, like Kaido and Whitebeard, at the peak of their power are able to reach multi-continental or planet-level AP, then feasibly the 5 Elders would be stronger than it. Now, all this is a somewhat difficult conclusion to come to on account of the fact that Rock was able to waltz into Marijois and be like, "Hi, Emu, I'm here now." And becomes doubly difficult to scale when you consider the fact that Silver's Rayleigh, who is an
Why are we watching this? Somebody brought it up.
old man is being positioned at Elbaf as
It kind of felt a little more
substantially
interesting than
stronger
just
the Royal
watching
Knights,
the
because that
in-depth
kind of drives
battle.
to the idea that pirates could somewhat consistently be as strong as the Royal Knights and possibly as strong as the 5 Elders. But if we are assuming in a 1v1 basis, Luffy is as strong as your standard member of the 5 Elders, and the 5 Elders are at least Yonko level, then it further stands to reason that Gear 5 Luffy, using the entirety of his power, and maybe for the first time in his life focused on killing, has an AP that falls somewhere in the range of Moon level.
Darling was not on the same path as Rocks. Hold on.
Maybe for the first time in his life focused on killing, has an AP that falls somewhere in the range of Moon level at the low level and Planetary at the high level, even though he's never necessarily displayed feats that would put him
Negative, since I like Naruto better than One Piece. Checkmate. Yeah, you're 100% right. If you like Naruto more than One Piece, you can 100% believe that Naruto 100% negatives the verse. That's really what it comes down to.
Scale Luffy's AP is all the way back in his battle against Kaido, because yes, he did turn the Dragon Kaido
doing,
into
Pekko?
a jump rope, and yes, he was able to exchange multiple blows with a hybrid version of Kaido, which was his strongest form. And as Kaido was one of the only people who was established to be able to defeat Blackbeard in combat, and Blackbeard is now the wielder of the Quake Fruit, which should, in theory, be able to destroy the entire planet, that would mean that Kaido is probably a planet-level threat. It does all come back to Whitebeard eventually. Now, as for durability, Luffy's
Last time I saw his verses, he's like, Kizaru is stuck at lightspeed. That's funny. Can I ask a couple of following questions? I'm not going to dispute. Just want to better understand your perspective across the series about Luffy's speed. Sure, go ahead.
durability should be somewhere in the range of his AP. By far and away the most impressive attack that he's ever tanked was also from Kaido, when he withstood Kaido's Destroyer of Death Thunder Bakwa, which was Kaido's strongest special attack in his strongest form, his drunken hybrid form. And therefore, once again, if Kaido could defeat
Inspiration
Blackbeard
scaling is crazy.
somewhere in the region of Moon to Planetary level, that would mean that Luffy taking that attack puts durability somewhere in the region of Small Planet level. But enough talking about Kaido. Let's get to Luffy's speed. The one thing about Luffy that...
You know what's funny? And not just to like really keep pausing the video, but like I know I do it a lot anyway. Who gives a shit, right? You know what's funny about this? At least in my opinion. I get a lot of shit for using the term level for something, when levels apparently are used for the term, like, you know, for calcs and stuff, and it's funny that he's not using any. It's almost like it doesn't matter how you use the term level.
That has actually been improved upon since fighting Kaido. Well, yes, obviously, in Gear 5, Luffy was able to speed blitz Kaido in his hybrid form, but he was also able to blitz Rob Lucci, an awakened Zoan type with ridiculous speed. I mean, after all, he's a cheetah. He's an awakened Zoan cheetah. Not to mention he also outran and speed blitzed multiple light speed clones with Dawn Stamp on Egghead. He intercepted on Egghead a laser and ate it, and lasers obviously travel at light speed, and he kind of...
Who is mistaken for Usopp seems to be shocked Luffy at all how fast he is. Do you think he's Lightspeed Plus? Which Carpenter? Can you give me a page for that?
And laps around Kizaru or Borsalino for the entirety of Egghead Island, making Kizaru not really a threat at all. See, whether it was literally punching through Kizaru's head and taking him out of combat for a couple of episodes, or stretching across the entirety of Egghead Island to knock Kizaru out so that he couldn't kill Kuma and Bonnie, the character who's been used as the baseline threat of speed in the One Piece universe is now slow to Luffy. Even when Kizaru tries to travel in his light form, Luffy's able to keep up with him. In fact, it's further than keep up with him. He's able to intercept him, which brings us to the very easy conclusion that Luffy is FTL to FTL+. So with that said, now in summary, we've established that Luffy's
I'm good,
AD
Commando.
is
How are you?
somewhere between Moon to Planet Left. His durability is roughly the same, and his speed is FTL to FTL+. But what about his hacks? Because it's truly Luffy's hacks that make him a threat. Some people will try to tell you that with the unveiling of Gear 5, Luffy is tapped into
Luffy with pirate games? If you could give him a pirate game for free, I think he would just have it.
For comedy's sake. And like, yes, is Luffy now a more cartoonish character in how he fights? 100%. You can tell from all the laughing. However, Luffy's abilities aren't unlimited reality warping. In fact, they follow a pretty strict set of rules. See, well,
I don't think Luffy would have the capacity, or at least not the capacity. I think he's I don't think he's that stupid, but I don't know if I would say that like, Luffy would know how to like look up ROMs and emulators to like fucking.
He does in fifth gear. Basically, he can do whatever he wants, whether that's turning the ground into a trampoline, turning his enemy into a jump rope, grabbing lightning, or inflating his body massively. There's a lot of things that Luffy can do in Gear 5 that he couldn't do before. But most of Luffy's reality warping is tied back to one general concept. Rubber. He can change the elasticity of everything around him, whether that be the
This guy has
ground,
really
opponent,
green eyes.
himself,
I just noticed.
lightning. Luffy's not Shinra Bancho, man. He can't turn light into a city. He can't generate whales out of the sky. He has complete and total cartoonish control over the elasticity of his surrounding. And more than that, Gear 5 has other rules. Luffy can still get tired. He can still take damage. There's a time limit. And even with his 2 and 4-esque abilities, he still needs to use Haki to overcome his strongest opponents. And the others very clearly display that Gear 5 doesn't fix everything, especially against people with essentially immortality. So if you wanted an actual rundown list of what Luffy's hacks are, they are with his observation Haki, Future Sight, with his Conqueror's Haki, the ability to ignore conventional durability and suppress weaker enemies. With Gear 5, manipulation of his environmental rubberness, elasticity is probably the better way to say that. Body manipulation, extreme blood
A
force
Tyranid
resistance,
player, if he
insane
played
recovery,
40k, he loves
food-based
eating and collecting
regeneration,
bugs.
and
Rate
a
the
completely
guy's room from 1 to
unpredictable
10.
fighting style. So yeah,
He's got... Rate the guy's room from 1 to 10. I don't know what that is. That seems to be like maybe something for like a... I don't even know what the fuck this is. That's a curtain. That's a curtain. That's a mirror. He's got like a lot of like hardwood furniture. Very clean room. Very clean room. Very nice. His name is Kaku Mountain Wind. Let's see. Chapter 325. That should be... Yeah, that's past. Naruto, One Piece. Ah, yeah, you're talking about Water 7. You're talking about Water 7. Yes. Yeah, when Haku's moving away. Yeah, 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes. He's so fast. Oh, hey, wait. Is that direction a huge drop? I mean, it doesn't have to be light speed. They could literally be surprised. So, okay. Kaku, obviously, throughout the later portions of CP9, throughout the later portions of Water 7, does show that he has the capacity to easily speed blitz Luffy. They could simply be surprised. I mean, to be honest, that a foreman within the context of the city, they know that they're freaks. Like, everyone knows that Luffy's a freak. These guys have been on their own adventures, but seeing a normal person, especially one who works for a company like Galila, it can genuinely be surprising. Even if you're someone who's strong yourself, you can genuinely be surprised that someone has the ability to move so fast and have such level of athleticism, all things considered, throughout, especially throughout a village like this, right? It's not to say that Kaku here, like, if you wanted to scale it just in the most, like, okay, they're surprised, therefore he must be Lightspeed. No, it could also be they're surprised because a carpenter working for this company that's going to go check out the ship is going to make it here and back in 10 minutes. Wait, that's kind of weird. You're just a carpenter, right? You're just a foreman? No, he's literally jumping off to the side of a giant building as a, again, normal person to essentially jump from roof to roof, and everybody here isn't surprised by it, right? You see how other people aren't surprised by what he's doing? You can argue that they are simply surprised by the fact that, again, a carpenter is this fast, this strong, doing all these things, but the regular people of Water 7 aren't surprised by it. You can see it in the next page where they're all like, hey, Kaku, oh, it's Galila 1, oh, it's a carpentry foreman, see? It's not, you don't have to take it as, like, literally as, like, oh, Haku has to be that quick. As a man, he's doing too much. Give me 4 items in my room and it is perfect. That's what I'm saying, bro. Everyone knows that a real man, especially a real man that's working hard, everyone knows that a real man's room is nothing more than a single lawn chair, a TV that's on the ground, a futon or a bed mattress with no fucking bed frame, and a singular lamp. Yeah.
Fun for any opponent who finds himself in the ring with Luffy. But does Naruto have the kit necessary?
The bed fridge toilet. Yo, the bed fridge toilet. That's all you need. The fuck a big fridge. Give me a mini fucking fridge and that's all I'll ever need, bro. I got hot pockets in that bitch. I got a toaster in the counter. That's, bro. What are we talking about, bro? What are we saying? Is that your living quarters, Ian? No, my living I have a bed with a frame and I got a couple, like a small video game thing.
Well, let's get into it. Kind of just like with
Which version arc of Luffy you think is equal to Shippuden ending Naruto? I'm not that deep into the power skin, but I felt that One Piece is just a stronger verse. If you want me to be honest with you, I think Luffy is completely stat checking Naruto in every way, shape, and form by like right out of post time skip. If I had to be genuine, 100% stat checks Naruto in everything but likely attack potency, quantifiable attack potency by end of series. And the only reason I say quantifiable attack potency is because if you're talking about end of series Naruto, people obviously throw in like the Naruto the Last, which puts him in moon level, but essentially pre-time skip, right out of the pre-time, I think he's stat checking Naruto in almost every other way.
There's a million things I could talk about as it pertains to Naruto.
You could not be needing a massive fridge. Yeah, that's true. Should give us a room tour. I do have a camera that my girlfriend gave me so that she and I could like FaceTime on Discord. I have been thinking for a while now if I should show my face to you guys, but after the whole situation with my mods, I don't know how comfortable I am like showing my face to people. Do you count Naruto's feats and all the scaling from Boruto? I'm not doing Boruto scaling yet, but I will talk about Boruto scaling, and I'm going to be honest with you. Boruto scaling does not improve Naruto's speed to the point I think he can keep up with Luffy. The only thing I can give Naruto for Boruto scaling is the fact that there is a data book statement that says he can now blow up the earth. With the tailed beast bomb can blow up the earth. Give him the Rasen Shuriken's poison. It's not really poison. They say it acts like a poison because it essentially slowly tears away at the immune system, breaking it down like a poison would. As some call it, do you think it's damaged Luffy to hit him? I think it could damage Luffy. I 100% think it could damage him. I 100% think it could do high levels of damage. But I also think that I also think that armament hockey is enough of an invisible armor to the outer skin. I don't think it's actually piercing him. If you cannot argue, or at least if I come to the conclusion in the end that Naruto, for example, like let's say Six Paths Naruto, he doesn't have like, or let's just say like Naruto from like the Rasen Shuriken training arc, right? Naruto when he first uses Rasen Shuriken, or even Naruto in the Sage Mode arc, right? When he learns like Sage Mode and stuff. I don't think that version of Naruto can actually and actively hurt any version of Luffy who has armament hockey. I don't think it bypasses his things. You think Naruto can use the Nine-Tails Chakra as poison? I don't think Naruto uses the Nine-Tails Chakra to that extent. I think it's only poison because of the hatred that Kurama has. Dodge a photon beam riding a bike. Cool. Still does not keep up. That's still a pre-time skip feat. That's at best a pre-time skip feat. You can look at the official Naruto website. They have the data books there. Sweet. Thank you for letting me know that. Boruto can grant Naruto FTL speed to 10 to 27 billion times FTL. Congratulations. He is but a fraction of how fast I can get Luffy if I give him the full end of scaling. If I give Luffy everything, like I'm assuming he did Naruto, I could get Luffy to a far bigger number than that. Like, that's the thing, right? It's like, with Naruto, every bit of high-end scaling, especially for the speed, no matter if you use calcs or not, I can always get Luffy to a higher rate of speed, given canon information.
With Six Paths Chakra. See, because Naruto, even as a teenager, was fighting aliens with planet-level feats, even before Kaguya's injected into the story, much to the chagrin of all Naruto readers.
Guess you're not a hardworking man then? Yeah, no, I've got a bed frame, I got a bed frame, I got a couple of things here and there. I guess I'm not working hard enough, dude.
Gon Madara are very much dealing with a planetary level threat. See, not only had Naruto and Sasuke had been some of the only people not affected by the Infinite Tsukiyomi that affected the entirety of Naruto's planet, and as to whether or not you want to chalk up Infinite Tsukiyomi as a planetary level feat or not, it is
something about the Fishman pill meta? We're not doing that right now. I could do that, but we're not doing that right now, right? Unless they want it.
By reflecting his Rinne Sharingan off
these guys, who's an artist, told me my friend in the middle of said, if you're not going to show your face because it's ugly, then don't do YouTube. It's kind of whack. I don't think I'm an ugly guy. To be honest, I don't think I'm an ugly guy. I've been told, at least by my friends, that I'm like, I would say that I'm at least like a 6 to a 7 out of 10, right? Like I would say I'm like slightly above, like, I guess average, maybe average, right? And if like that's on a good date with like a nice hairstyle. I don't think I'm that crazy. But like, I don't know, it's not so much for that. It's like putting yourself out there is a level of vulnerability I'm not sure if I want to have yet, because then I don't know if I want people to know what I look like, right? Tsukuyomi instead of Tsukuyomi. Tsukiyomi. This is a jailable offense, and I'm not kidding. Yeah, no, if you mispronounce the hard to pronounce Japanese name, you should be thrown in jail. So he scaled Luffy pretty good. Now, will he make Naruto solar system or something?
Simply just something that the Divine Tree does. That is a
doing better than most. Is Loki continental? Loki versus Naruto? Loki is far beyond continental unless you think he's like as strong as Dressrosa Doflamingo.
If it is Madara who's directing these routes to every single individual on Earth, that is 150% a planetary level fee. However, if it's just a byproduct of the
the mod situation. If someone wants to explain it to him, they can. But the long story short for the mod situation was, one of the guys here on one of the members of the channel, essentially in a Discord server separate from my own, said something that was kind of insensitive to one of their friends. But within context, he wasn't trying to be insensitive. He was just trying to say that, like, he's just trying to call a spade a spade. The mods didn't like that. They banned him from all my channels. They also told him to change his profile on his own Discord bio. I thought that was fucking weird. They got mad at me and said that I was defending like this whole phobia thing that they were going on about. I told them it's not that. I'm just saying there's a bit context here that you guys are ignoring. They didn't want to agree with it. So eventually they said that I have no fucking spine, blah 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 blah. Try to basically throw my name under the mud, try to call me a pedophile because of some shit that again I had nothing to do with. And then, or at least we're referencing that I could end up on a pedophilia list for some shit that, again, I had nothing to do with, and they were the ones who informed me of it. And, yeah, they crashed out on me, so they just decided up and leave. And, yeah, that was basically it. I kind of showed, there's a stream that you can, like, check out from, like, a couple of weeks ago, from, like, 3 or 4 weeks ago, clearing up the evidence or clearing up the allegations, something like that. You can check out that stream if you need full context for everything. Check that one out. It's not that big of a deal. It's in the past. I told them and I let them know, like, yo, real talk, I'm willing to extend an olive branch. If you guys ever want to be back in the community, you guys are more than welcome to, but that's on you guys. Yeah, really sorry that happened again. Really felt unfair from what I saw as an outsider. Yeah, it was, I think they just overreacted. I think they took things too seriously and they were just policing people outside of the server. I didn't give a fuck about that. I just don't care. Epstein in their server, by the way. So they call me Epstein. They call me a human fucking trafficker because, yeah. I'm not wondering if they've ever watched one of your streams, yeah. No, they're calling me that, they're saying that I have no spine because I ultimately didn't agree with them, and one of them, Lapis specifically, who I think is the most pathetic of them all, got mad at me because I wasn't simply doing what he wanted me to do, which I don't have a reason to. Yeah. Anyway, that's the whole thing. That was the whole thing. Don't need to express it anymore, no need to talk about it anymore. It is what it is. That's it, it's fine. Like, that's essentially in the past. You couldn't have one original opinion in his presence. Yeah. Also, just because I don't give a fuck about it anymore. So Lapis. So essentially, there was someone had informed me to like keep an eye on Lapis. I'm not gonna say who it was or what had happened. I kind of took their words for like, you know, I kind of took it like with a grain of salt, and I was like, you know what, I trust them. They trust the guys to not be like really that fucked up or anything. Kind of proved me wrong in the end. They kind of proved me right, but yeah. From my understanding from one of the mods themselves, they had actually informed me that Lapis was breaking my channel's rules. This is something you guys didn't know, but I do have messages from one of the other mods from like months and months ago that like Lapis did constantly break a couple of the rules, saying some fucked up things about some of the members. Essentially breaking the rules, calling people the R word or whatever. He was going at it very hard. I got the screenshots to prove it, if anything, if in case they delete it, but like they informed me about all this stuff, but they said that they didn't let me know because it would have been their word against mine or whatever, and I was like, it's fine, it's whatever, like, okay. I should have talked to Lapis, I didn't, so that was on me entirely, but, you know, it is what it is, things are in the past, whatever. And thus I became a YouTube mod, by the way. I need the DC mod for the debate server. Oh, right. I'll send you the DC stuff for like the mod. Yeah, I'll send it for that one.
To the
yeah, no worries.
DNA flowing through the Divine Tree. Now, it's obviously worth noting that
I'll send you stuff for the Discord debate server. They didn't even because of a racism thing. He was fine with it a month. Lapis got upset because some of his perms were removed. Oh yeah, they got mad because some of the perms were removed after a whole situation where there was an allegation against one of the other mods. I tried to do a little bit of of deep delving into it, but there was no evidence that could have been provided, so I took away mod privileges. They were mad because I took away mod privileges so that they couldn't ban people and they couldn't administrate the server. I essentially just took away administrator purposes, because that way I could prevent anybody from deleting comments from the new chat log that my girlfriend helped me devise. So he can be forgiven, but other people like you can't be. The classic rule of the classic rules for the Ebert, not for me. Yeah, no. Lapis is the reason why I say the Lapis is like the one that pissed me off the most, because he to me came across as the biggest hypocrite of them all. But that's what it is. Yeah, I'll send you the promotion thing in a little bit.
Ridiculously proficient wood release user that he was able to use wood release to almost kill all 5 of the Kage simultaneously. And as wood release is seemingly through
relationships
the
always untoxic, yeah.
back to the divine trees. Like his roots, there's a more and more compelling argument with every additional chapter of Tube of the Vortex that it was Madara who was guiding those roots. But even if it wasn't Madara who was guiding those roots, what he does in the brief amount of time he has in his 3 Rinnegan form pretty easily establishes him as a planetary level threat.
I disagree with it from the perspective of those roots not being used in any offensive way and just being there to essentially capture everyone. You can delete logs. I thought logs were permanent. If you have administrator purposes, you can delete them, which is why I had to remove them. And I did, in fact, and they were mad that I didn't say anything, and I told them I would be removing certain permissions in the chat. Again, I can show it to you guys if you want. I told them I was removing certain things so they couldn't even play the argument of, you didn't even tell us. Like, no, I did express that we were changing out some permissions. I just didn't put them back in afterwards. That's a you guys' problem. It's weird how they got mad at it. Seemed like an ego thing because the mod thing gave them a way to be above others toxically. Yeah, but one of their server members has debates with PDF files and they're fine with it. But yeah, I don't know how to explain this, but you look at Naruto's life force does the white Zetsus. I think Madara is stimulating existing plant growth, so this isn't entirely his feat. Maybe.
Chibaku Tensei meteors he makes in the short battle he has against Naruto and Sasuke are all on their own threats to the planet. See, people much more dedicated and much smarter than me have measured exactly how large these meteors that Madara generated.
You cannot actually measure how large they are because you will get different measurements every single time, so sure.
Or of which
he's
there's
using calcs, it doesn't matter.
Each and every single one of these meteors that Madara creates are about the size of the Chichilov Collider, aka the meteor that killed the dinosaurs. In fact, it's actually
how do you get them to be that big? Moving a trio through the surface that doesn't equate to overcoming the gravitational binding force that Kurama turned the planet to ash is not planetary because it says, yeah, planet, yeah. On YouTube, at least, I rarely see people think Luffy wins. Why do you think that is? They just don't like One Piece, and One Piece is such a large series that a lot of the scaling, you have to genuinely look for it. Unlike Naruto, which has like very big set piece moments, because how often do they drop meteors in Naruto? It's like they just go with specific set piece moments and they mostly just go off of war arc scaling. It's really just that. When One Piece, it's like, well, the characters are fighting on an island, the islands are never blown up, therefore they must be island level. It's just that. It's very simple. And also, they just don't like One Piece. Usually I will find it that a lot of Naruto fans, not every one of them, but a lot of Naruto fans, Bleach fans, anime fans in general, just don't like One Piece for whatever reason, so they just don't like it to be strong. It's just that case. It's just that case.
Estimated to have a diameter of about 15 kilometers across. Madara's meteors are on average about 22 kilometers across. And therefore, if the Chichilov Collider was able to kill almost all of the life on Earth,
but none of them are lit on fire.
None
of them are like an actual...
Mexico, then it stands to reason that if any of these meteors hit the Earth, it would have wiped out all life.
Even in Boruto, Delta was spamming those laser eyes because she was confident she could tag him, plus the bite feet without
Naruto and Sasuke. Therefore, if Naruto and Sasuke were able to destroy these meteors who had kinetic energy of a great enough force that would have been able to destroy the Earth, then it stands to reason that what they were pulling off in that moment was a planetary feat. But Naruto's feats obviously don't end there. He one day turns into an adult, and along that journey to turning into an adult, before Naruto's even crowned the Hokage, in Naruto the Last, Naruto finds himself up against somebody by the name of Toneri Otsutsuki. And Otsutsuki, living on the moon, who's the last of the descendants.
22 kilometers? I agree, but what am I supposed to tell you?
The entirety of the Last as a movie revolves around the idea of Toneri throwing the moon at Earth. But when it becomes clear by Naruto showing up on the moon that it's not going to be that easy for Toneri to throw the moon at the Earth, he settles for cutting the moon in half, and therefore once the moon is cut in half, it will break into a bunch of gigantic meteors that will rain down on Earth and wipe out all life. However, this attack that is aimed at Naruto that cuts the moon in half, Naruto
I agree.
tanks, and like rather easily, mind you. And therefore, in this moment, Naruto displays moon-level durability, which kind of corroborates the idea that in the Fourth Great Shinobi World War, he was dispensing attacks that had the ability to take on something with the kinetic energy to wipe out a planet. But if you go one step further and go to Boruto, in the early parts of Boruto, in the versus Momoshiki arc, we see Naruto and Sasuke taking on both Momoshiki and Ginshiki, and fused Momoshiki once again with relative ease. While yes, obviously
generating them in the atmosphere a few kilometers above ground won't have the same effect, especially since they don't even burn. There's also something about like this feat right here that I do want to bring up. There's also like a feat right here that I do want to bring up. Where was the meteor thing again? Fuck it. I can't seem to find it.
The Chibaku threat that Madara generated were, of which there's about 30. And each and every single one of these are all
30?
awful threat.
There were about 30 meteors? Hold on. 30 meteors. Hold on. I need a Pain, pre-war, war arc. Okay, 30 meteors. Cool. There were 30? I don't remember them being 30. That 30's a lot, dude. Night Guy, yeah. Kaguya. Okay. I don't know if I would call this a meteor, or at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 20. Okay, so 24, 25. Okay, that's not too far. I'm thinking that he's probably calling some of the smaller ones. Okay, that's fine. I'm not gonna go it.
As the Chibaku Tensei meteors he makes in the short battle he has against Naruto and Sasuke are all, on their own, threats to the planet. See, people much more dedicated and much smarter than me have measured exactly how large these meteors that Madara generated were, of which there's about 30. And each and every single one of these meteors that Madara creates
The moon durability thing is so broken. That's not how it goes at all. I just rewatched the last. I don't know why people hate to actually pay attention to that movie. Because they focus on a surface level thing. I've been talking about this earlier, John. They focus on a surface level. A lot of people look at things from a very surface level perspective. They see Toneri slash the equivalent of the moon in the Naruto verse, so he must be moon level. It's very cut and simple. It's not really hollow. I mean, it's hollow to an extent. Can we at least agree that it's hollow to an extent? I'm not saying that whether or not it's hollow, it makes the feat any worse. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, can we at least agree that it's hollow to an extent, right? Like, if you see from the inside, there is already some of it already being hollow, right? Yeah, like right here, right? Right? Like, look at the inside, right? Like, this is on the inside of the moon, right? See, like, this is the beam on the inside. It is hollow on the inside to an extent. I'm not saying that it's a lot of space. I'm not saying that it's a small amount of space. I'm just saying there is space inside the moon that is not entirely filled up with bedrock. Are high enough to be world ender. They were falling from orbit. Yeah, and also the distance between like the atmosphere. I remember watching a thing with like Neil deGrasse Tyson where he was explaining how like if you were to put your finger on like a globe, the actual atmosphere will only reach about like the first knuckle or something like that.
Naruto
Underground caves means the earth is hollow. Yeah, but that's not just an underground cave. Like Kurama's fighting inside of it as well. And it's not just a small underground cave if Kurama's again doing it. It's not all compact in as well, One Smart. That's what I'm saying. Like, if we could agree that it's somewhat hollow on the inside, at least relatively more hollow than, like, let's say, large portions of the planet, I would say probably.
Rather easily, mind you. And therefore, in this moment, Naruto displays moon-level durability, which kind of corroborates the idea that in the Fourth Great Shinobi World War, he was dispensing attacks that
That's
had
because
the
he
ability
once
to take
split
on
it entirely while the other one
energy
didn't,
to
but
wipe
the
out a
other one
planet.
not
But if you go one
splitting
step further and
entirely.
go to Boruto, in the early
Has
parts of Boruto,
implications
in the
for the
first
story that
Momoshiki
can
arc,
still be
we see
full
Naruto
force.
and Sasuke taking on both Momoshiki and Kinshiki, and fused Momoshiki once again with relative ease. While yes, obviously, the tide of the battle is eventually turned in the battle against Momoshiki when Momoshiki is able to absorb a bunch of additional jutsu when backed into
At least
the form by
compared to the
Naruto
moon. I agree, Kurama's not that big unless you think that that's full-size Kurama, which is somewhere around 34 to 68 meters tall.
Sasuke, because Science Gauntlet Guy decides to inject himself into the battle against Momoshiki to show how incredible his product is. What is undeniable is that up until that moment, Naruto and Sasuke were putting the earth on a fused Momoshiki, somebody who has consumed at least 12 planets worth of chakra. That is to say that Momoshiki
It's also worth noting, which you may already know, but Kurama is outside of Naruto fighting the golem.
Planets. Now you can say, maybe, well, it's because of the machinations of the Otsutsuki clan that he was able to destroy planets, and while if he had maybe only destroyed one planet, I would say, you know, okay, good, valid excuse. The Otsutsuki have a framework with the 10 tails and the divine trees and the chakra fruit that makes the destruction of planets a little bit easier. It's not like he's Frieza destroying planet Vegeta. He's not just shooting a laser beam at a planet and blowing it up. He has to go to the planet. He has to bring a 10 tails. He's gotta feed Kinshiki to the 10 tails. That's gotta turn into a divine tree. He's gotta use infinite Tsukiyomi or something adjacent, and then he's gotta drain.
Well, no, he doesn't have to use infinite Tsukuyomi. He just the tree itself, if it cannot be taken down, will essentially absorb all of the chakra in the planet, and then it will kill everything, all life.
And all the chakra out of that planet and consume a chakra fruit. But at the end of the day, what Momoshiki has essentially done at least a dozen times is consume the energy of an entire planet. And in that way, he's really no different from Galactus. I'm not saying he's as strong as Galactus. I'm just saying he's also eating planets. In Naruto, without accessing his strongest form that was later displayed in his battle against
shouts out to
Ishiki,
him, honestly,
beat the brakes off him. But obviously, later down the line in Boruto, Naruto got the brakes beat off him. Jigen, by tapping into the power of Ishiki and the 10 tails, is able to absolutely dominate both adult Naruto and Sasuke, presenting objectively the biggest threat the Naruto universe has ever seen, a threat that only got stronger when Jigen was forced to manifest into Ishiki. And once again, when a not 100% Naruto and Sasuke had to fight against Ishiki, the fight was not close until Naruto tapped into Baryon mode. So Baryon mode allows for Naruto to engage in what is essentially a nuclear fusion reaction with Kurama, a reaction where Naruto and Kurama collide their chakras into each other at incredibly high speeds, and their chakras fuse into a new form of energy. Now, nuclear fusion is a type of energy that we as humanity have been trying to tap into for quite a long time, and America was actually making really good progress in unlocking this, what would essentially be infinite energy source, until the current administration was like, but I love fossil fuels, and the people who pay for my campaigns love fossil fuels. So now the world leaders in nuclear fusion are France and South Korea. Our government is being
I would say that more and more people are realizing that scaling things isn't as surface level as people likely considered it to be. I know that to many people it's been ruined because people are thinking a lot more about it. I'll put it like this: if you as a person, if you think that looking into things with a level of depth, with a level of reading comprehension, and not trying to simply downplay everything, if you think that like that ruins power scaling, I would probably say that you're probably one of those, again, on the more casual, more the guy I like to win wins type shit, right? You got to admire his energy at least. He's clearly passionate. I disagree with his takes, but yeah, I mean, he clearly seems to believe what he's saying, so which is why I don't really have an issue with it, right? Like, I don't feel like he's trying to, like, you know, just be a grifter and just say one is better than the other for the sake of it.
Run by lobbyists and billionaires, and it is killing us. If we put more money into science and less money into killing
people, I don't do much of my own scaling, rather than just discuss with others, because it's actually really, really hard to do it with enough evidence, in my opinion. Yeah.
Suns operate. Superheated hydrogen atoms collide into each other at such a speed that they actually create helium atoms. But the byproduct of this reaction is incredibly exothermic, and therefore we could use it to boil water, because boiling water is still the only way we know how to generate electricity. I'm not kidding. Like nuclear fission, you know, the things that like are nuclear silos, we use that energy to boil water. Turbines, baby. We spin a turbine, and that turbine spins an electromagnet, and that electromagnet makes electricity, and that's been the way it's been forever. We could recreate the power of the sun.
Opening is big enough to classify the moon as hollow.
I mean,
but it is hollow.
Brief couple of minutes, he's able to overwhelm
the planet can have underwater oceans and lakes. That's also cool.
By himself defeat Naruto,
but again, it's not entirely compact on the inside. Like, if you want to say that the Earth is inherently not hollow, I think that's completely reasonable, because again, there are underground oceans and lakes, etc. But usually within media, it's never, especially for like something like Asura's Wrath, like let me just give Asura's Wrath as an example, it's never exactly described that like it's going through only a portion, it's only going through like these underground hollowed caves or oceans, etc., right? Like, none of that is ever depicted, even though we know for a fact that the Earth has certain pockets inside of it that are hollow. That's completely fine. My point here is that the moon in and of itself has a large amount, a portion of it that isn't hollow, and I don't know if you can necessarily compare it to, like, let's say a small portion of the planet that is only hollow. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if you wanted to say, well, the Earth is technically hollow as well, then yeah, you would not be wrong, and I think that's fine, but that doesn't display the fact that the moon is hollow. You cannot argue that it isn't if it's visibly shown that it is.
This battle were of equal strength, and that equal strength wasn't equal to the strength of Ishiki. This would mean that Baryon mode made Naruto more than 2 times stronger, because if Naruto represented 50% of the power heading into the initial battle against Ishiki, and Sasuke represented the other 50%, that 100% was not enough. And thus Baryon mode is not a 2x multiplier, it's probably closer to a 3x, a 4x, or a 5x multiplier. But obviously, it has drawbacks. It killed Kurama, it halved Naruto's chakra levels. It is a break in case of emergency 4, and not only can only be used once, but will seriously hamper Naruto's ability to be strong in the future.
This guy has very green eyes. Holy shit.
16-year-old fighting against Madara, and continued to show moon level to small planet level feats in the last, where he not only tanked the shot that destroyed the moon, but also then proceeded to put the moon back together and put it back into orbit using the power of the Tensegan, which, mind you, he destroyed. And then Naruto went on in Boruto to defeat somebody who consumed the power of 12 planets. What does it say about his AP if he hits his AP with a 3 to 5 to 10x multiplier? Well, it means probably not talking about planetary anymore. Now, that could mean that the AP of Baryon mode is somewhere in the high planetary level range, but it probably means we're approaching solar level. In fact, that's actually
the difference between a planet and a solar system is excruciatingly disgusting, dude. How do you, what is the sure.
Consensus for Baryon mode Naruto's APs. Solar system. Multiple planets makes a solar system. Well, multiple planets could also just make a big planet, and there's definitely been conversations about the fact that One Piece's planet is larger than
Yeah,
our
they had a
planet
small
by, I
amount
think,
of
64
chakra
times.
considering.
Is
They said it was a piddling
metric.
amount. It didn't
Nobody,
even
to
create
my
like a
knowledge, has
full
ever tried to figure out
chakra
exactly how big the Naruto planet is. And for the sake of not muddying up this argument, I'm just gonna assume their planets are the same size. So what does all of this drive us to? Well,
Dude, come on. You can't. Dude. Come on.
more or less that Naruto's AP is higher than Luffy's. But
It's not
what
at
about his
2
speed?
times.
Well, kind of like when we
It's
talk about
not at
Naruto's
2
AP,
times.
talking about his speed is a conversation that best starts by talking about Madara. As
So
Madara
just
kind of
gloss over
person that we-
star level, gloss over large planet, gloss over everything. Just go straight into fucking solar system. And also, I just want to say something. Saying that that both series planets are about the same size, that is like a massive upscale for Naruto and a massive downscale for One Piece, dude. That's so crazy to me.
we saw consistently attack at the speed of light. If you know, we want to ignore the fact that Haku is stated to be able to travel between his ice
That's why he
mirrors
said
at the
Kizaru
speed of
was
light,
stuck
and
at light
Naruto
speed?
catches him
Ah.
as a 12-year-old. But the cleanest first example of a light-based attack in the
He said that both planets are going to be about the same. When did he reach solar system? I got you.
exactly how big the Naruto planet is. There's been conversations about the fact that One Piece's planet solar system. It's this very odd mode Naruto's AP is solar system. Multiple planets makes it solar. Probably not talking about planetary anymore. Now, that could mean that the AP of Baryon mode is somewhere in the high planetary level range, but it probably means we're approaching solar level. In fact, that's actually
good one,
the
man.
consensus for Baryon mode Naruto's AP.
Have a good one, dude.
Solar.
Genuinely, I love
Multiple
Krispy Kreme. I
planets makes
think I had my
solar.
first like Krispy Kreme donut a
Multiple planets could also
couple
just make big planets, and
months
there's
ago.
definitely been conversations
Last year,
about
I
the fact
think.
that One Piece's
Something
planet
like
is
that.
larger than our planet by, I think, 64 times is the scaling metric. Nobody, to my knowledge,
That's
has
a
ever tried to figure out
funny-ass
exactly how
chain.
big
It
the
looks like it has
Naruto
pearls
planet
on
is.
one
For the sake of
end,
not muddying
and
up
it's
this
like
argument,
chains
I'm
on
just
the
gonna
other.
assume
That's
their
funny.
planets are the same size. So what does all of this
That's
drive us
crazy to me, by the way.
More or less that Naruto's AP is higher than Luffy's. But what about his speed? Well, kind of like when we talked about Naruto's
So you're telling me that Naruto punches with the force to destroy a planet, dude? I don't know.
Talking about his speed is a conversation that best starts by talking about Madara. As Madara was kind of the first person that we saw consistently attack at the speed of light. If you know, we want to ignore the fact that Haku is stated to be able to travel between his ice mirrors at the speed of light, and Naruto catches him as a 12-year-old. But the cleanest first example of a light-based attack in the Naruto universe is Madara's mouth.
Yeah, this is what I mean when I say that like people like NC Hammer sometimes come across to me as like very casual scalers, because if you do the research yourself, fuck what other people say. If you do the research yourself, you can easily come to the conclusion that not light speed at the start of the series, but sure.
Laser, which, mind you, Naruto dodges, though it does cut one of his true secret orbs in half. However, in this moment, it's being displayed to us that six-pass Naruto at 16 years old is able to dodge light-based attacks, which, you know, like we've established, Luffy is also able to do, and with relative ease. Even Sanji is able to react to and dodge light-based attacks.
Hey,
So
what's up?
clearly, Luffy can
What's
do.
up,
And
Swag?
presuming that Luffy is faster than Sanji, like he should be, that basically just confirms to us that Luffy is probably fairly above FTL. But so is Naruto. See, if Naruto, after just gaining the six-pass chakra as a 16-year-old, was already faster than the speed of light, then how fast was he in his battle against Toneri 3 years later? How fast was he in his battle against Momoshiki more than a decade later? And how fast was he in his battle against Ishiki using Baryon? See, if we're assuming that Naruto and Sasuke are somewhat equal in speed, as they usually are accepted to be, Sasuke, even with his 6-Tome Rinnegan and Eternal Monkyo Sharingan, was not able to track the chakra rods that Jiken and Ishiki fired at. Naruto in Baryon mode was not only able to track those projectiles, but catch them out of mid-air.
Yeah, but that's mostly because they are so infinitesimally small that you cannot see them or sense them until they basically expand. Naruto's just raw reacting to them.
So, if a character in Sasuke who has as many feats to prove that he is FTL plus as Sasuke isn't able to even track the projectiles that Naruto can grab out of the air, how much faster than FTL to FTL plus is Naruto? Probably a lot. There's a big difference between barely dodging something and grabbing 5 of them out of the air simultaneously. Think for a second. If 5 people lined up in front of somebody and all throw a baseball at them simultaneously, and that person with one hand caught all 5 baseballs, that'd be the craziest thing you've ever seen. Now, if they dodged those 5 baseballs, that's cool, but it's not catching 5 baseballs. That should give you a pretty good idea of the differences
Yeah, but a baseball also isn't shaped like a rod, dude.
in speed we're talking about here.
Also, the rods were all thrown at him, basically. Like, look at the scene again.
Baseballs, that somebody doing something FTL equal to FTL plus is Naruto. Probably a lot. There's a big difference between barely dodging something and grabbing 5 of them out of the air simultaneously.
Here.
Okay, or somewhat equal in speed.
Just look at
as
this
they
real quick.
usually are. Sasuke, even with his 6-Tome Rinnegan and Toen Baryon, the Monkyo Sharingan was not able to track the chakra rods that Jiken and Ishiki fired at it. Naruto and Baryon mode was not only able to track those projectiles,
Watch
but
this. So he throws
catch
them, right?
out of
So, damn it.
catch them out of
Damn it.
Jiken and Ishiki fired at it. Naruto and Baryon mode was not only able to track those projectiles, but catch them.
Okay, so look at how close they are together. Like, he's basically catching just one of them, and all of them are just lined up together, dude. I'm sorry, like, I'm not here to tell you that, like, your analogy is wrong, but, like, I think there's a difference between a ball, 5 balls that are each are about the size of your hand, and 5 rods that each fit in one hand that are all being shot together at once, in close distance towards one another. I don't know, man. Like, if somebody threw a ball at me that was, like, coming at, like, each of them were at least, like, 3 or 4 feet away from each other, that would be impressive. But if you're throwing at me, like, 5 tubes that are all essentially coming at me in the same fucking, like, within less than an inch of each other, I don't know, man.
Out of mid-air. So, if a character in Sasuke who has as many feats to prove that he is FTL plus as Sasuke isn't able to even track the projectiles that Naruto can grab out of the air, how much faster than FTL to FTL plus is Naruto?
Where do you scale Luffy at? Planetary
There's
and
a big difference between
FTL.
barely dodging something and grabbing 5 of them out of the air simultaneously. Think for a second. If 5 people lined up in front of somebody and all throw a baseball,
Yeah. The baseball analogy doesn't
Baryon
work.
mode, but like massively faster than light. So Naruto and Luffy's speed may be somewhere in the region of equal, with Naruto not in Baryon mode. Baryon mode pushes Naruto into
No, not at all. You cannot quantify Naruto whatsoever past a certain point. Like, after you get him to, like, FTL, it essentially becomes unquantifiable. It's just some marginal increase in terms of speed, and mind you, this guy, for his speed scaling for Luffy, did say FTL and all that stuff. He never brings up pre-time skip feats. He doesn't bring up Foxy, he doesn't bring up Kuma Light Beams, he doesn't bring up anything like that. He just kind of goes straight into Gear 5 scaling.
to a
Hey,
level
what's
of
up,
speed
Bakuretsu?
that the One Piece universe as a franchise can't even really conceptualize. But what about his hacks? Like we said, it's Luffy's hacks that make him an incredibly tough out in any kind of fight. So what about observation haki? And while Naruto can't necessarily an almost infinite amount of stamina, sensory abilities akin to observation Naruto's. Well, Naruto has shadow
No, he does not. In Baryon mode, Naruto does not have shadow clones. That is not something you can argue.
clones, an almost infinite amount of stamina, sensory
Not an infinite amount of stamina. That's objectively not true. He has a very limited amount of stamina that lasts a couple of hits.
abilities akin to observation.
I still don't get it, because Madara was planetary, and then he fights Kaguya, who's stronger, and then he fights Toneri, who's throwing the moon, and he's apparently stronger than Madara, and he slashed the moon, and then Momoshiki and Kinshiki are like super duper strong, and then yeah, that was his reason, and then Ishiki's like stronger than them. So like Madara's planetary, and then Toneri, and then Momoshiki, and then Ishiki, and that was the line of reasoning.
Haki, and while Naruto can't necessarily see into the future, his sensory abilities and ability to read chakra do allow him to predict what people are going to do. And
But again, predict chakra, your words, NC Hammer. Luffy doesn't have chakra.
for the sake of this video, first equalization haki.
Dude, notice all the shit you have to do to get Naruto to fight to actually beat Luffy. You have to disregard all pre-time skip speed scaling. You have to give Naruto solar system level shit without an actual objective argument. Without any objective scaling, just saying one is scaling than the other, so multiple planets equal solar system. Like, you can even hear him say it underneath his fucking breath when he's talking about, like, the attack potency and shit. You can even fucking hear it under his breath, right?
A bunch of gigantic moon and power abilities, kinetic energy, Naruto of additional jutsu, and his product is what is who was consumed before he fused with Kinduki clan. The out easy the plant using the day what way he's rich in Naruto obviously the tech object to fight to engage in his attack logging the and the people who pay for my campaign by lobbyists and billionaires. In a visit, we would actually in Adam's confirming baby forever. We could recreate the couple of myself defeat Naruto with equal strength wasn't equal to the strength of Ishiki. This would mean that Baryon mode made Naruto more than 2 times stronger. Because if Naruto were 100% would 5x multiplier. But obviously, it has drawbacks. It killed Kurama. Can only be used once, but will seriously hamper Naruto against Madara, and then proceeded to put the moon back together in Boruto to defeat somebody who consumed the power of 12 planets. What does it say about his AP if he hits his AP with a 3 to 5 to 10x multiplier? Well, it means probably not talking about planetary anymore. Now,
Yeah, they consume the planet's worth of chakra, so they must be planetary. Mind you, some of those chakra seeds were literally fucking like tiny as fuck, and they were saying that they basically got nothing out of it.
oh, that could mean that the AP of
I think I've already seen that video.
Baryon mode is somewhere in the high planetary level range, but it probably means we're approaching solar level. In fact, that's
Like, I don't know. I feel like he's not saying that with his whole chest. It comes across to me that he's not saying that with his entire chest, in my opinion. What the fuck? Ew, no.
Naruto? Probably a lot. There's a big difference between barely dodging something and grabbing 5 of them out of the air simultaneously. Think for a second. If 5 people lined up in front of somebody and all throw a baseball at them simultaneously, and that person with one hand caught all 5 baseballs, that'd be the craziest thing you...
Why didn't he use the multiplier for Luffy's gears, but he's using Naruto multipliers? He's making up multipliers too. He's saying that Naruto should be like 2, 3, 5 times stronger.
Ever see. Now, they dodged those 5 baseballs. That's cool, but it's not catching 5 baseballs. That should give you a pretty good idea of the differences in speed we're talking about here. And thus, we're not really talking about FTL or FTL plus when it comes to Baryon mode,
100%. 100%. A guy like this who has such a basic take, I'm sorry, but a guy like this who's using such basic evidence and essentially using other people's arguments, other people's scaling in order to get his own conclusion, he's basically just going with the, he's 100% going with the claim that will make the most people happy, because Naruto fans will get extremely fucking mad if you say, or they will call you out on some bullshit if you say, Luffy beats Naruto. Yeah, he's not really standing on his own 2 feet with this one, I'm sorry. I don't think that he's really saying all of this with his own chest.
Massively faster than light. So Naruto and Luffy's speed may be somewhere in the region of equal, with Naruto not in Baryon mode. Baryon mode pushes Naruto into a level of speed that the One Piece universe as a franchise can't even really conceptualize.
Dude, really just said, bro, it's the opposite, dude. It's the opposite. Why didn't you give, so you give everything to One Piece as far as like Kizaru and all that shit, but you just ignore all the pre-time skip evidence that means they're faster, dude. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, here's the thing. I don't think I've ever really argued. I really don't think I've ever personally argued that, like, how much stronger Naruto gets after, like, 12 years or after, like, 2, 3 years. Simply because it's not quantifiable. I don't think that, personally, I don't think that Naruto doesn't technically get faster from, like, let's say, the last to Hokage. I'm not saying that Naruto can't get faster, but, like, Naruto's also not going on active missions or actively training every day. I mean, Kurama does state that he's kind of, like, rusty. So, what does rusty mean, right? Is rusty in comparison to how he was as a kid? Or is rusty in comparison how strong he technically should be now? You know what I mean? It's like one of those weird things where it's like, maybe Naruto's far stronger now, but he's like rusty in comparison to where he should be, or is he just rusty in comparison to where he was, like, let's say in the last time we see him fight? Either way, it's like, how much faster has Naruto really become in a verse where he's not constantly fighting or becoming more powerful or fighting opponents that are much more powerful than Madara, Toneri, Kaguya, etc., right? Like, basically, Kinshiki and Momoshiki were the strongest people to show up to the planet after Kaguya in, like, the last 12 years. So it's kind of one of those situations where, like, could you argue that Naruto should be stronger after 12 years? Yes, 100,000%. But you can't quantify it, and you can't exactly say how many times faster either. Like, 2 times would probably be the best you could argue without being genuinely biased.
What about his hacks? Like we said, it's Luffy's hacks that make him an incredibly tough out in any abilities. Chakra is hot. He also has his stated to cut avatar form. He has the ability to separate Kurama from himself, like we saw in the last. And he has the Rasen Shuriken, which is...
Cannot use that and cannot use the other argument because he cannot separate... Okay, so NC Hammer, if he ever sees this, or if anybody ever, like, you know, says whatever, I'm gonna be honest. The reason why I think that this argument just devolved into essentially bullshit, in my opinion, like just a completely unprovable, unarguable bullshit, is simply because you're arguing that Naruto can do a Rasen Shuriken in Baryon mode. Like, you're genuinely arguing that Naruto can separate Kurama, the guy that has to actively smash his chakra with Naruto's chakra in order to cause Baryon mode. He's saying he can separate Kurama from himself while using Baryon mode. You know, the form that is also stated that Naruto has to limit his movements, be as precise as possible, and even remove any kind of superfluous thought in order to keep it active for as long as possible, and the longest he could keep it active was 10 strikes in the manga. Mind you, he lost power halfway through and Ishiki started to, like, match him after the first 5 hits. I'm sorry, dude. This portion right here of the argument, meaningless. Absolutely meaningless.
Kurama avatar form, he has the ability to separate Kurama from himself, like we saw in the last, and he has the Rasen Shuriken, which is stated to cut on a cellular level, tailpiece bombs, and an absolutely vicious regeneration factor. A Baryon mode...
No, the regeneration factor is really not going to come in when, again, even if you think Naruto's outstatting Luffy, I mean... Yeah, what happens after 10 hits? What happens after exactly 10 blows? What happens after a singular Rasengan that arguably cannot kill Luffy because his body will just shape itself around and it'll just send him flying back. Like, yeah, sure, you could argue all you want about a planetary solar system level Rasengan, cool. It's a blunt force attack. It's a blunt force attack with torque. That's not killing Luffy. That's not beating Luffy. The Rasengan has 2 points of contact. The first hit that blows the person back, the second hit where they hit another object as they're being blown back. What's he gonna do with it? He's gonna hit a guy with spinning energy? What, are you telling me that the AP is gonna rip Luffy's skin apart? Yeah, Luffy who can shape himself around spikes, around a spiked club. Luffy could literally shape his face around a spiked club that was fused with hockey.
Also gives Naruto an additional hack.
I appreciate that,
Bakuretsu.
Bakuretsu.
Lifespan drain. Everything
Maybe
that Naruto
advertise in
touches
the comments.
while in
That's
his
a pretty big
Baryon mode
audience.
has their lifespan cut away. This is not slashing damage or blunt force damage. This is soul damage. And consider the fact that Luffy has multiple times shortened his life through the things that he's done over the course of his adventure, whether that be his hormone fruit boosts from Emporio, or technically every single time he uses gear too. Luffy coming into combat against somebody who could shorten his lifespan further. Not great. Now, I know some of you are saying, oh, but Nick, it only shortens people's lifespan because chakra's being destroyed and all chakra's connected. But like I said, we're doing verse equalization here. Hockey is chakra, chakra is hockey. That doesn't technically mean that Luffy will be able to knock out Naruto with his Conqueror's Hockey because Naruto himself doesn't have Conqueror's Hockey. I mean, like, maybe? Naruto's chakra, by everybody who's ever had the ability to sense it whatsoever, has always been talked about as uniquely abundant. A warm, inviting mass of chakra that is
And you're ignoring the fact that the pre-time skip scaling was ignored, and you somehow argued that Naruto is solar system off of vibes. When there is literally no statement or objective piece of evidence. The chakra fruit of the planets they absorbed weren't as bountiful or large as the one Kaguya ate. I have absolutely no idea why you are arguing that Naruto can use a Rasen Shuriken, Shadow Clones, and what was the other thing? I don't know why you're arguing that Naruto can use a Rasen Shuriken, Shadow Clones, and that he can separate Kurama from himself while using Baryon mode when Kurama quite literally states that he has to rid himself of superfluous thoughts, and he has to prevent any wasted movements in order to keep the form going for as long as possible. Oh, I misspelled superfluous. Oh, it's with an extra U. For as long as possible. Like, this isn't even a matter. How exactly does he have Kurama fight outside of him? Fight outside of him if he needs Kurama to perform the nuclear fusion. I'm gonna say if he needs Kurama to smash their chakra together for the form to even work. Even if we go by the anime adaptation, he he only uses a single Rasengan, which arguably wouldn't hurt Luffy. The single Rasengan. He only uses a single adaptation. He only uses a single Rasengan. If we go by the manga, if we go by the source material, aka the manga, the form lasted exactly 10 hits. Exactly 10 hits. And Naruto was losing power after the 5th hit. Not to mention, it took 10 hits to reduce his lifespan from 20 hours to a couple of minutes. And doing the math, Naruto would need to land thousands of punches. Naruto would need to land thousands of punches, which is a far cry from 10. Also, his punches wouldn't hurt Luffy. Wouldn't hurt Luffy in the first place. And you have, objectively speaking, no way of arguing that Naruto punches with the Force to destroy a solar system. Objectively speaking, no way of arguing that Naruto punches with the Force to destroy a solar system.
Incomparable to anybody else in the universe. So if anybody in Naruto was going to have Conqueror's Haki, if it existed in the Naruto universe, it'd probably be Naruto. Now, if you want to go on a technicality and say, oh, Luffy would just knock him out with Conqueror's Haki, then he would kill him, sure, whatever, be my guess. But also, I know what some of you are saying, oh, but Nick, Naruto's only able to shave away Ishiki's life because Ishiki only had 20 hours left to live. And like, well, yeah, you could look at Naruto's exchanges with Ishiki in Baryon mode as Naruto shaving away Ishiki's life from 20 hours to 10 minutes, or you could look at it as Naruto shaving away 96% of somebody's lifespan. Yeah, maybe he's only...
Yeah, 96% of somebody's lifespan, who is only 20 hours long.
Able to shave a day off the life of the people that he comes into contact with, or maybe he cuts away your entire life. Once again, you can truly take that however you want. There's really no correct answer.
No, there is. There is a correct answer. There is no way you can argue that Naruto shaved away 96% of Ishiki's life without also bringing up the objective fact that it was only 20 hours worth of lifespan. What's up, Sailor Extended? I'm gonna leave in a little bit. Sorry, you're only showing up now. But yeah, there's no way.
If we're being real, it doesn't really matter. See,
it does matter, actually, because it was only 20 hours. What if a person has 3 months to live? What if a person has a year's worth of lifespan left? What then, NC Hammer? What then?
Naruto to win this fight, because everybody is going to be like, classic Naruto YouTubers saying Naruto would beat Luffy in a fight. Opinion invalidated. Like, we can all agree.
No, actually, I don't think anyone would say that. I think people would say, oh my god, guac, guac, guac. Thank you so much for making this video. Guac, guac, guac. You're absolutely right. Guac, guac, guac. So many people downplaying Naruto nowadays. Guac, guac, guac.
From like a non-biased standpoint, the scaling of the Naruto universe is cleaner than the scaling of the One Piece universe, and the scaling of the Naruto universe makes Naruto stronger. To you to fight, opinion invalidated. Like, we can all agree, from like a non-biased standpoint, the scaling of the Naruto universe is cleaner than the scaling.
It's cleaner? I disagree. Wholeheartedly, I disagree. You have to make so many more assumptions for Naruto. You have to 100% make more assumptions for Naruto.
Of the One Piece universe, and the scaling of the Naruto universe makes Naruto stronger than Luffy. Gun, which is the strongest thing we've ever seen from Luffy, low ends at Continental, high ends at Small Planet. Naruto's AP, low ends at Small Planet, high ends at solar system.
No, it doesn't high-end at solar system. It's wanked at solar system. You cannot objectively scale him to solar system. There's no statement, no feat, nothing to back it up. What are we talking about?
That's not an infinite gap. It's one worth noting, though. And durability-wise, Luffy has banged with some of the strongest offensive beings in his universe. But if there's
Think
one
about the
thing that
moment
Luffy
when
is
Luffy
weak
punches and sends him flying kilometers through grounds. I've heard your comments. I have read.
to, it's slashing attacks. And Naruto's Rasen Shuriken is like the sharpest thing in the Naruto.
We'll get you more views because of rage bait. Yeah.
Universe. It's so sharp, Naruto had to learn how to not cut himself with it. It cut Jubi Dara and the Divine Tree in half, and the Divine Tree is 5 kilometers wide.
So we're
Sorry,
reverse equalizing as well, so now
it's like the worst technique that Luffy could come up against. What about speed? Naruto's faster. Even not in Baryon mode, he just has better speed feats. Baryon mode just makes him like incomprehensibly faster than Luffy. And like, yeah, Luffy's got future sight, but Naruto has sage mode perception, which operates basically the exact same way without the visions being flashed into his head. Naruto also has a ridiculous advantage when it comes to ranged attacks between his tailed beast balls and his Rasen.
No, he does not. No, he does not. Absolutely not. The tailed beast bomb, honestly, never causes an explosion big enough for me to consider it wiping out all of Onigashima, for starters. Naruto in general, I don't know. I guess if he's making a giant avatar and then shooting a tailed beast bomb somewhere, but like, there's a really good argument that, like, just as an example, right here. No, that's Whiskey Peaks. Like, I just want to show you guys something. This is where, like, this is how far Luffy can stretch his arms. This is how far Luffy can stretch his arms. In Drum Kingdom. You know how far that is? These mountains are 15 kilometers tall. Sorry, it's not 15 kilometers. 1.5 kilometers tall. That's 1.5 kilometers. And Luffy's stretching his arms past multiple fucking cities. That's over 1,500 meters. That's literally almost 100 times bigger than Kurama. That's almost 100 times taller. This is almost 100 times longer. Technically, arguably more. But they're 5,000? Are they 5,000? I forgot how big they are. 1 second. Give me 1 second. One second. Oh, 5,000 meters. Oh, my bad. This is over 100 times longer. This distance right here is over 100 times farther. This is over, like, technically over 200 times farther than Gamabunta is tall, by the way.
And shurikens, when we take into account things like the multi-shadow clone techniques,
yeah, my bad.
avatars, and the life drain.
Sorry, it's the inner Naruto fan in me that's constantly tried to downplay it, right?
And just, he's got better hacks than Luffy. Not to mention, he clears stamina by like a Texas mile. Adult Naruto can bang with Gear 5 Luffy. Gear 5 Luffy might be able to get a leg up on him, but he's not doing enough damage to adult Naruto.
Yes, he is. Internal destruction. Internal destruction. Like, that's all you need to argue. Internal destruction. Punches Naruto once in his brain explodes. There you go. Fight's over. Funny, when I think Gamabunta's only 17 meters tall, Luffy could literally take him in one hand and yeet him across a country. He could. At what point in the series could Luffy Gum Gum Bazooka Kurama or a boss summon? Pre-time skip. Arguably pre-time skip easily. Arguably, he can 100% pick up Kurama and just send him flying. If you don't think Kurama's 4 or 3 times larger when he's at full form, when he's at full size, I've seen enough. I don't need to see more about this guy. Guys, I'm gonna head out. I'm not gonna continue streaming. I'm gonna keep working on this, and I have to, like, step out. Did he bring up the Haku? I wasn't there for that. He brings up the, like, Haku. He was dodging Haku in pre-time skip or whatever. Oh, you did your due diligence. Wait, where did you advertise my video? Did you advertise it in that video? Let's check that out real quick.
Oh, this one is...
Alright, did you advertise it here? My money's on Naruto, Mythical Refresh, Leopard, can't blame the mix-up. I could be wrong, though. Good old power scaling. No way someone I finally trust to make a video makes it. I haven't watched, but is notorious for being one of the worst power scale ever to post up there with Daigo Knight. You're not wrong, but he didn't do bad this time. God, remind me, remember when Hashirama's 6 paths would be close? Hashirama's kind of fodder, if you ask me. Not fodder, of course, but highly overrated. Yeah. Not for real. Nah, for real, though. This debate ends now. Okay. Naruto wins. I didn't even watch the video to know that. Finally, facts are spoken. As someone who likes Luffy and One Piece more, this is absolutely accurate. It's really not. Pre-video thoughts? Nick, don't piss me off. Honestly, this is a better of the big 3 fights to throw either against Ichigo would be equivalent of Coughing Baby versus the Heat Death of the universe. Cool. You mean the God Knights, the Royal Knights? Yeah. You see the 5 villages stronger than Yonko. Kaido is crazy. Maybe you meant all of them together could take on Kaido. Definitely slams. Can we just agree that Luffy, always being goofy, accentuates the aspect of him more? The meteors did make the Gulf of Mexico. It made a creator. It made a crater that is within the Gulf. A common misconception. Did create, although, however, it was not the meteor. The impact was so large, it was pretty sure. Just thought about them. Momoshiki only absorbed multiple planets. Each time he does, he feeds on lower partner to the Ten Tails. So Kinshiki is no way the first part Momoshiki is in their plans. I like to keep it vaguely unquantified with numbers to make things muggy, but I gotta say my skiller brain thirsts for calculations. I had no idea where this Enru's playlist fun. Thanks for covering the fight. I trust to make the video. Also, 50, I don't actually think the mod is controlling the Divine Tree roots themselves. The roots are programmed to move once again. Jutsu light reflects. Yeah. Actually, research conclusion to this age-old topic will be coming soon, released by Ian. If anyone is interested in how long and in-depth the explanation is, he actually is scaling the series without watch out for the release, specifically Naruto versus Luffy. I think the best argument for the one who would win, of course, comes from Oda scaling One Piece universe. I'm quoting here, fuck your scaling, it only makes sense for when it does, for have fun having Big Mom and Kaido team up again, Lucy and Alvida on your own, yeah. Hey Nick, I think you've gotten speed scaling wrong. Comes back in, or light speed Zoro dodges them and throw their bark, which would be massively due to the gears. Yeah. If you failed to mention Don Chincho outside, you could split both continent, don't match without Gear 4, so Gear 5 would be multi-continental. Yeah. Gear would be 300 times multi-continental. It sounds more easily planet. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys making some comments yourselves. But anyway, guys, I appreciate that. Enjoy your day. Yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day, guys. Obviously, no hate to NC Hammer. I do think that his take is... I'm not going to say that he's... Whoa! What the fuck? Female Toji? She's heading down the same path.
What's your size in biker boots or shoes and jacket size for like a biker jacket? Brother's trying to finesse his way into this. Now, interestingly, she does have a highlight on her story highlights, which shows
current blood work, normal female testosterone, all that shit. I'll check this out later. Have a good day, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. The era of clip farming. Oh yeah, clip farmers. I don't get it, man. An ex-mafia boss versus 20 cops. That sounds interesting. I might check this one out as well. All right, guys. I have to head out though. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care of yourselves. Drink some water, and yeah, I don't know. Just be good people. I don't know. Just be good people. Don't. One Piece is scaling more consistent, which makes it easier to scale characters. They're more accurately than their Naruto counterparts. Have a good day, Eon. Yeah, no problem. Listen to the funk later. Yeah. Have a good one, guys. Peace out.